To the baby?
I think so.
Yep, that's where she was headed out to.
There you go. So he's
Grandchild.
I'm going to sleep on Gonzo's couch.
Yeah, you know, that might be a viable thing, man.
What?
It might be a viable thing. Pray. I thought he thinks like an inflatable bed in the living room.
Oh, that's great. You use the opening from this to that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
By the dance floor, checking it out. Watching the man with the fast feet. He got the hippest friends in the band boogaloo. A big old bag of tricks. Down to the nightclub. Give you what you want. If you know how to find it to the nightclub. Ooh, slay. Oh, the people be bumping. At Bobsett. The joint be jumping. At Bobsett. The mama be humping at Bobsett. Hey, well, the man be pumping. Shut the band be pumping. The beat be something. Wow, what time, y'all? The night's almost gone and we're still going strong. The party's been so party. I hope it doesn't show while I'm driving down the road that I had too much to drink. Down to the nightclub. Well,
You want a seat, man?
No.
Down to the nightclub.
Drove 9 minutes later, that's how it's going.
Down to the nightclub. Down to the nightclub.
Kind of aroma during this thing.
Down to the nightclub. Down to the nightclub.
It doesn't create anxiety issues or anything. Not going to trigger anything deep.
No, I was just. I mean, I was going to give this up and move that over and take one of these empty ones over here and move it over. I was like, there's chairs, right?
Well, I appreciate your compassion.
Thanks.
This is over there looking at fantasy football scores. He doesn't care.
Down to the nightclub.
That's Tower of Power with Down to the Nightclub, the traditional lead-in music to every show here at Mason City Linus Comedy Club, where we are sort of pseudo-live. And Chris,
Well, right now we're live.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to us, we might not be live. We might be
Right.
in a...
And we have some changes. I don't know if you've noticed. You probably have. If you're listening to this, you definitely have. We're going to be offering all this content on demand all the time because that's what you guys were listening to anyway. And we're going to create new content. We've talked about adding new hosts. I'd definitely like to get Ryan Singer on board and offer his content to new listeners. And he's got a great podcast that he does. We've talked about that
Me,
before.
Paranormal, and you.
It's amazing. I've listened to a couple
Or
of
me
episodes.
and Paranormal, you.
And I meant to talk to him. I don't know.
Yeah, he'll be here in December.
Yeah.
Big show's coming. We were off last weekend for Halloween. I actually went down to Louisiana with my dad and to a wedding. So
We're going to talk about that. You know, I mentioned that you were probably looking at fantasy football scores. I've never seen anybody research fantasy football to the comprehensive extent that you go to.
well, that's a
You're
advantage
very
of not
educated.
having a life. So very fortunate that way.
You're a guru at manipulating your fantasy football team back to the top of the standings.
Yeah, it's all about getting in the playoffs and being in the money. You know.
I'd like the Titans to hire you. I think maybe you could.
Oh yeah, you did fire your coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a great move. I just don't. I think the guy was a fabulous offensive coordinator during his day. Probably will be again for somebody else, but head
It wasn't
coach.
happening.
No.
3-20 was his record.
3-20. That's really rough.
Good enough for government work, but not necessarily the NFL.
So we got these changes that I'm talking about, and we're going to do that for all the shows. All the shows are still going to be represented. Still going to be able to get Joe Cumia. Still going to be able to hear Davin and Den from New York and their podcast, which is actually just recently syndicated. They're doing some big things. Davin Rosenblatt. big enough that he was able to go to Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas for his birthday. So he's moving on up in the world. Those sort of things are still going to be available. You're just going to be able to click on them and you'll be able to listen to them right now rather than tuning in at a specific time on a specific date. I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, a comic I worked with this week, Katrina Brown from Ohio. Holy crap.
Dayton, Ohio, you said. That's where my hometown is.
Yep. And she was awesome. The room, first of all, is called Boxcars, and I got to give them credit because it's probably the best Wednesday night room I have ever seen in my life. They sell it out. It's in Clinton, Wisconsin. They sell it out every single show. 60 tickets. If you don't get them early, you're not going to get them. They really support the place, and it's a lot of regulars keep coming back for every comedian that they have. They do it once a month, and I kind of was fortunate. Katrina had her feature fall out, so she called me spur of the moment and said, can you drive to Wisconsin, open this show for me? I'm like, hell yeah. So I got up there and I was just literally amazed by the quality of the room and the following that this guy has.
And the crowd was hot.
They were ready to laugh. They were absolutely there for a comedy show. And they were like,
about this room, I think, we might have like 6 or 7 people sometimes. But they come to laugh.
Oh, sort of conditioned to it. I'm sure these people are too. Now, after, they've probably had, I think I saw 8 posters on the wall. So they've been doing it for a while. These people are used to coming in and they know what comedy's about and they apparently appreciate it because they keep buying tickets. And Katrina killed that room. It was great that I got to open and I didn't step on my dick, which is the main job of a feature. You just don't step on your dick.
That's good, yeah.
And then she came out.
I never heard it put that way, but I guess that's...
A headliner told me that.
Don't step on your dick.
Your only job. Go out there, make them laugh, and they better be ready to laugh when I walk out. Don't step on your dick, period.
Don't step on my dick, too. We're talking about stepping on dicks. Watch your step, that's all I'm saying.
So the most impressive thing for me was, and I mentioned this in a message to a bunch of comics the other day, nobody left. She did over an hour. I got up there and I'm like, how much time do you want me to do? And she said, well, do 15 to 20. And then she said, I would really like to do more than an hour if I could. So I was sort of nervous about getting the hell off the stage. And I got out early and she was able to go up there with a great crowd and she held them in place. She went like 75 minutes or something like that and nobody left. There were no smokers leaving the room. Nobody went to the toilet. Wow. They were just sitting right there. That's impressive to me.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not funny. People don't go to the toilet. I'm funny and all, but and what are we talking about? Is this after a Mexican? There's degrees of funny, I guess, and I don't know if I ever prevented anyone from going to the bathroom.
Well, they sold a lot of booze that night, so I'm sure people were swimming in it by the time the show was over, but they didn't move. They stayed right there. And that was, I thought, a huge compliment to her that they would just hold on like that for the whole thing. But I don't go in for this gender labeling of comics, female comics, male comics. I think that's all bullshit. Everybody's funny or they're not. But as a female comic, I was surprised that she never really went to pussy jokes at all, ever. She talked about balls more than she talked about pussy. And that's sort of one of my pet peeves with female comics is that right out of the box they start talking about period blood or some kind of shit like that. And, kind of as a dude.
Yeah, I wait till he's 3 minutes in before I talk about my used tampon bits.
Anyway, I wanted to.
On your side first, I say.
That's sort of a room report. I wanted to let everybody know about this great room in Clinton, Wisconsin. Boxcars Pub and Grub. If you're close to there, buy a ticket because there's lots of funny people coming to you. And Katrina Brown did a great job as a comic, and I wanted to let other people know about that.
And speaking of funny people,
we do. We've got What the Fuck is Happening in Mason City Limits.
Mr. Brown. Yeah. We have Michael Brown here, alive, quasi-live, I guess. Michael Brown is a former Springfield resident and has since moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, and got married. And he's always been funny. He's always been in theater and radio and now comedy, and now he's got his own game show which he'll bring to Mason City.
Have you literally always been funny?
Yeah. And high. I'm very happy to be on any podcast. If 10% of your listeners look me up, then that's more people.
Now, you're not the Michael Brown that got killed in Missouri.
No. That was
although he's probably got more credits than you now. Oh yeah.
Well, what was weird about that was I'm at Michael Brown on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I managed to, out of all the Michael Browns, I got at Michael Brown on Twitter. No underscore, no number. It was just, there waiting for me. And
you probably had a deluge of support immediately, right?
He would retweet every Michael Brown related thing because he was a big football player, soccer player, rugby player.
It's an English footballer.
Everybody hated.
It's English footballer from Leeds.
Tweeting,
It's Michael Brown. Michael Brown from English footballer from Leeds, and I enjoyed retweeting tweets about him that people would talk about, but they weren't specifically referencing him as a football player. So it sounded or it looked like they were talking about me. So
how many times were you called a cunt?
A lot. So I would retweet those because those are fun. And I would also just do a Michael Brown. I would do a search for my name on Twitter, and any tweet that mentioned my name but didn't mention specifically who the other Michael Brown was, I would totally retweet those tweets because it would sound like they were talking about me.
Everyone's talking about Michael Brown.
Yeah,
they are.
But the kid that got that had his unfortunate happenstance happen last year. When that happened, a lot of people went to Twitter to talk about it, but a lot of them didn't know the difference between the @ symbol and the hashtag. So I got hundreds of tweets directed at me or mentioning me as incorrectly as this kid, and I kind of let it slide for the first couple of weeks. But when reporters started doing it,
when Spike Lee gives your address out on TV,
when reporters,
that's when I draw the line.
I mean, when regular people can't tell the difference between an @ and a hashtag, I get it. But when reporters are out there and they @ me and they're talking about the kid, then I would gently remind them how Twitter formatting works. And then I had the news director at one of the Little Rock stations sent me a tweet because he did it. And he then, after I was like, "You got the wrong Mike Brown," and he said, he tweeted me asking, "Does this happen a lot to you?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I would rather have misdirected tweets sent to me than directed bullets sent to me." So I'm okay with that. But I haven't done a Michael Brown retweet in a long time, and it's because of that. Because most of them nowadays are still talking about the kid, or they're talking about there's like a televangelist in Colorado named Michael Brown who's on the radio, and they talk about him, and then the very, very few times they still talk about the English footballer, and then the physicist who declassified Pluto is named Michael Brown. Oh wow! And now I would take credit for that too. Yeah, right. That's me. And just pick up some kind of bullshit argument. Well, he couldn't be at Michael Brown because I already had it. So his Twitter handle is Pluto Killer.
There's probably Pluto Pussy available out there if you play that, right? Maybe. Yes, I am Dr. Michael Brown.
There's another stand-up comic named Michael Brown.
Black guy?
Yeah.
Okay, I think because I remember when I put in your name for the search engine.
Yeah.
Wait, black guy?
Yeah.
White guy?
Yeah.
Black fellow.
And he goes by Michael too?
He goes by Mike.
Mike Brown.
He goes by Mike, and his Twitter handle is that Mike Brown.
Oh, okay. That's
So I think there was a time there where he and I were getting confused, or where people were confusing him with me, or vice versa. And then there's an improv, a really good comedy sports guy named Michael Brown as well, but he's not a stand-up. So, but we have he and I have a show, the Michael Brown. Well, I told the improv guy and the other dude, I was like, if the three of us we could make a tour.
Michael Brown Cube, maybe?
Yeah, we could just the Michael Brown's of Comedy tour,
Yeah.
or I don't know, but I was like, there's ways we can make money on this, all of us having the same name but having completely different acts. I was trying to angle it more towards, it's a real special event when there are 3 different Doctor Who's in a show. Why can't we be the same? Why can't we just different regenerations of the same Michael Brown or whatever? So anyway, it's but I spin everything geek. I spin everything toward the geek side on that, so because everything comes back to comics or whatever for me. So that's just how I do it. But
Are you a Star Wars guy? Are you really excited?
Very much so, man. I'm old school, man. I'm OG Star Wars, brother. I was in the theater in 1977, son. I saw that shit week of. You know what I mean?
One of the most vivid childhood memories I have is sitting in the back of my dad's Nova and listening on the AM radio to these Star Wars commercials, radio commercials, and the sounds. And they were awesome. I saw the original Star Wars trailer for TV the other day.
Oh, did you?
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Like the lightsabers had no color in them yet.
Right.
Yeah, it was very strange, but it was cool.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I even had a show last night. I even spoke about this towards the end of the show last night. I said, my generation, Generation X, was what we were labeled when we were the age that the millennials are now. We were labeled Generation X, and we were the slacker generation. We were, economists would say that my generation, our generation, really, you're part of it too. You're not much older than I am, Chris. The economists would say that we would never make as much money as our parents, and then they spent the next 20 years making sure that fucking happened. You know what I mean? So,
all because we listened to Nirvana. Fuck you.
Yeah, right.
But in my dad's defense, he wasn't a stand-up comic.
Fair. Well, no, that was a blanket statement over everybody. But I said, here's how I know my generation is becoming in charge of shit now, is because my generation just took over Star Wars, and now we're getting the Star Wars that we've always wanted. Because I feel like Star Wars is in really, really good hands with J.J. Abrams. I really, really do, and I think it's going to be appropriate acknowledgement of the Orig-Tridge, which is what I call the original trilogy. The Orig-Tridge. There's going to be appropriate acknowledgement of the Orig-Tridge. There may be tacit references to the prequels of Saga or whatever. But I genuinely think that George Lucas finally saw the writing on the wall, knew that he was putting out an inferior product. It needed to be handed off to somebody else, and I'm glad he decided to do that, because now my generation, who literally cut their teeth on this franchise, is now in charge of it. So I have high hopes. I really have high hopes.
Not only are you a Star Wars OG, but you're sort of an elitist snob.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah. I'm a nerd hipster. I'm a hit. No, seriously. It's really cute. You think Star Wars is cool. I was on Star Wars long before you were ever on board or born or anything like that.
Were you an Atari player back in the day?
Yeah, man. I had a 2600.
I saw a great documentary on Netflix about...
I've seen it.
Have you?
Yes.
That was awesome, wasn't it?
That was a great documentary on Netflix called Game Over, Atari Game Over, where it tells the story of them. There was an urban legend about all these, this cache, this huge... the worst game.
It's sort of a tragedy too. I mean, the whole thing.
Well, they were on top of the world at one point, right?
Yeah, but they made this ET game, which was just universally panned.
And you really need to know the background of that too. Like the guy that did it, Howard Warshaw.
Yeah, who was fantastic.
And he mentions this in the documentary. He's the only guy who had a million seller for every single game that he coded and then released. Every single one. And then he was asked to do E.T. during an age where they were trying to, we're getting a call. We're in the middle. This is our business day. You guys should come out and watch the show. That's really the reason we're even talking here, because Michael's going to be here this weekend, Friday and Saturday night.
That's right. But go ahead and finish your thought.
What was my thought? So anyway, Howard
he made all
Warshaw.
these awesome games.
Yeah.
Yard's Revenge was one of the best
Kills.
ones he ever did.
Yeah.
It was Yard's Revenge. I loved that game as a kid, and I loved the fact that he built it from the ground up. It wasn't a licensed property. None of them were
Right.
really back then.
But then they started getting into this time period where they started marketing movies and other things as video games. That happened a lot. And so they asked him to code out an ET game in 5 weeks in order to be out before Christmas.
Yeah.
And he did, and he created something that has been panned universally, but among hardcore gamers, it's sort of accepted as really
it's a fantastic game.
Right.
In the time, I had no idea that he did it in such a short time period. I did not. Until I saw that documentary, I had no idea that he coded that game in like 5 weeks.
Right.
And the game that he created in literally just over a month was tremendous.
Right.
If they had given him 4 months, that would be the best Atari game that had ever been made at that point.
Right.
I mean, it would have been. It's like one of the first Atari games that really contained an entire world, and it was one of the first games besides. I guess. Well, Pitfall was a side scroller, but it was one of the first games that was essentially an open world. You could go.
Loved Pitfall.
You could go left, right, up, down, and you would still be in the world. I mean, granted, there were all those crazy ass pits and stuff like that. I mean, the gameplay itself kind of sucked balls, but the initial architecture of the game was fantastic, and it suffered so greatly because of the playability of it was just so awful.
But you got to take into context the time when nothing was playable. You
Right.
know, up until before this, we had electronic games that were made by Mattel and places like that you held in your hand and you pushed a button, and and then all of a sudden you had Atari come on the scene. And it changed everything.
Yeah.
And this guy, Howard Warshaw, was right in the middle of everything all the way up until this ET. And unfortunately for Howard, it also happened at a time when the Time Warner chairman gave Steven Spielberg like $20 to $30 million, just handed it to him in order to get this ET franchise. And they were hoping to bring him on board to do other things, according to this documentary. And that was apparently at a time when the economy, if you gave somebody $20, $30 million and then you lost your ass, that really meant something. Wouldn't be the case now. I mean,
Well, we're talking early 70s, or late 70s, early 80s. So $20 and $30 million back then is way more money than it is right now.
Would you say you were on the cutting edge? You got the Atari when it first came out, or did you have to wait while the other kids in the neighborhood had it before you?
No. We actually had Pong before we had Atari. I had a Pong system.
Pong,
I had a Pong system before Atari. But we got our 2600. I guess the year it came out, or maybe a year after.
Yes.
I must have played, because it came with like combat.
Yes.
It was that tank game. There was like a tank game, and there was a biplane game and stuff, and it was very much a kind of player versus player shoot 'em kind of arena kind of game, and those were fun. And then as time went on, and as that dude, what was his name again? The dude,
Howard Warshaw.
Howard Warshaw. As he and his contemporaries continued to crank out more and more cartridges, it just became an obsession with me when I was a kid.
were you a coin-operated gamer before
very
that?
much so.
Me
Yeah. I would go to. I would make excuses when I was a kid to like if my parents took me to the mall to go shopping or something. I was like, just let me stay in the arcade. Just give me a couple of bucks and quarters and I'll be fine.
Yep.
And because even back then, I loved watching people play games so I could figure out how to play it before I played it.
So you were good on.
I tried to be, yeah. I mean, I worked in college. I actually worked at a video arcade and ran Street Fighter 2 tournaments and
Are there
shit.
so many video arcades out there anymore? I mean,
Yes, dude. We back home in Sherwood, Arkansas. We have a there's a business in Sherwood called Retrocade,
Yes.
and they have they have, I guess, maybe 36 restored, fully mint condition, restored 80s arcade video games, and you pay like $7.
Yeah, you play all
And
you
you just
want?
go in and play all you want.
Oh, that's great.
It's not a quarter by quarter thing. You just give them, you pay them kind of an admission to
The
go in.
first
and
game I
play.
was addicted to was Asteroids. Boy,
Yeah,
there was
right.
a lot of
Yeah,
quarters in
right.
Asteroids, man.
Galaga was one of my favorites.
Galaga's
So-
good, yeah.
But Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man,
Yep.
they were all, they had tons of cool games back in the
And
day.
that was a big deal when I finally got Miss Pac-Man for the Atari. Like we had Pac-Man, and Pac-Man for 2600 was the first game I ever rolled the score over.
Wow.
So I remember sitting in the living room in front of, like, back then it was just a big giant wooden console television, sitting on the floor. And I had the 2600 hooked up to it. And one Saturday I was like, I'm beating this game. And it's all I did. It took me, I think, 3.5, 4 hours to roll the score over.
Did they hide anything in that one? I don't remember.
If they did, I didn't see it, because there were a little. Oh no, there were. I think it was Miss Pac-Man. They kind of hid little Easter eggs in, but where like the fruit would turn into like a little character or something like that, and you would eat that, and it would be 5,000 points or whatever. But on just the Pac-Man game, I figured out the pattern.
Yeah, that was
because
huge. Finding the pattern.
Because the ghosts would all react to you the same way if you went this one particular route. And I literally sat there and did it over and over and over again until I rolled the score over, and then I never played it again. I literally never played it again after that. I rolled the score over. I could have just sold it to my friend. I didn't give a shit after that. It was over for me. I was like, I'm done with Pac-Man. I beat it. What else is there to do? Why would I ever play this again? I just beat it.
Did you ever play the E.T. game that is now so famous?
Absolutely, I owned it. I used to own it, and that was the cool thing that I thought. Finding out all the history about the rise and fall of Atari was great.
Right.
But what I was really watching that documentary for, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it was all predicated upon the urban legend that there were stacks and stacks and stacks, like thousands of these unsold E.T. video game cartridges that got dumped in a landfill somewhere in New Mexico. And so a urban archaeologist tracked it down to see where it would be, and of course that was the initial driving story behind the entire documentary, to see how that resolved, and everything in between that he got from the cats who were working at Atari at the time was just absolute gold. And it's not even a really long documentary. I mean, it's just a shade over an hour. Right. So you should, if you haven't seen it yet and you've got Netflix, freaking watch that, man. It is fascinating. It was
They apparently
really
had a great work environment there. They
shit.
smoked weed all day.
Yeah.
People walked around without clothes on. Whatever.
They were rock stars, man.
Yeah.
They were rock stars.
And then, one of the rock stars fell, and basically that was it for the company after that.
Yeah.
And he ended up taking the fall. It's really a sort of a tragic story, and you do get some good news about this guy in the end. I won't spoil it for everybody, but Howard Warshaw is a fascinating character that comes out in this documentary. Everybody should watch it. It's called.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
That dude is brilliant, man.
Yeah.
Sincerely. And he should be on the Mount Rushmore of game coders. Honestly, I mean, everything he did paved the way for other people.
Here's a thing I had
go
about Comic-Con. It's last one was in San Diego. Isn't that kind of a waste of weather on people who's probably going to be indoors most of the time anyways? Shouldn't they have that like in Duluth, Minnesota? Right? Why San Diego?
Well, because when you're done at the con and you walk outside and it's still nice. That's and you're right there at the.
They're going to be indoors that whole time.
Well, sure.
And then they're going to probably, hey man, let's go down here and we'll play a video game or watch a movie, or, I mean, I don't know. To me, they'd save a lot more money on convention space. Duluth, Minnesota.
Duluth.
Just keep the Dungeons and Dragons games
another thing
going
I-
and keep everybody
I
indoors.
did want to point out you guys have a lot in common. Besides being comedians, you both are newlyweds.
Yeah, I recently got married. I managed to put together a string of like 27, 28 days now. We're successfully.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Since May for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And I wanted you to talk about the plan for the honeymoon.
Oh, my honeymoon? Well, our initial plan, and this may or may not still happen, but let's see, plan is a strong word. This is an idea.
Okay.
This is our intention, I should say, was to do a road trip where we went to Colorado and Oregon and Washington State and do kind of a 420 honeymoon.
Sweet.
Where we would go spend a few days in Colorado, and then after Colorado, then drive to Oregon, spend a few days in Portland, and then drive up the PCH to Seattle and end the week in Seattle, or end the trip in Seattle. It might be more than a week, and then initially either drive back from Seattle or fly back from Seattle, depending on how we do it. But it's a logistical nightmare, basically. I've been to Colorado, and it would be a hell of a lot easier just to fly to Seattle and stay there.
You're avoiding California, right?
Yeah, because California is not.
It's medical.
It's medical in California,
And it's so hard to get a prescription.
well, for an out-of-state person, I'm sure it
Probably
is.
is.
But
I see what you mean.
yeah, and not that I don't know people in California.
Yes.
I know dozens of people in California. A lot of them are comedians, and most of them are pretty good hookups for that.
Yeah.
But and if I would also say I would happily go to California to promote something that I have going on, so I could be on more podcasts, quality podcasts like this one, and hit some of the larger, more listened to podcasts in California if I had something big enough to promote, which hopefully I will in the next.
Speaking
few
about
months.
things to promote, this weekend Michael is here with Mikey Mason.
Yeah.
Michael usually headline for us, and he's kind enough to feature for us for Mikey Mason, who's another high energy, great act. And after the Saturday show, we're doing something a little different.
Yep.
It's a game show, trivia game called Brain Trust. Why don't you tell us about Brain Trust?
Brain Trust with Michael Brown.
Michael Brown.
Got to put your name
Now,
on.
which Michael Brown are you?
That would be the white one, the white stand-up one.
The right one.
Yeah, no,
The left one.
The left one. The Brain Trust is, as it stands right now, Brain Trust is YouTube's only comedic, pop culture, geek-centric trivia game show on the platform. There's nobody else doing what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it.
So this will be recorded in live studio.
Can you roll through that one more time?
Yeah.
Description? Can you?
The only
YouTube's only comedic, pop culture, geek-centric trivia game show.
I'm not sure if I had a stroke or an orgasm, but that just sounds amazing.
Now you're kind of insinuating that there might be a non-YouTube form of this entertainment.
Possibly. I don't know,
I don't
man.
know.
The internet's a big place, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to have an original idea. So, but I genuinely don't think that anybody's quite doing what I'm doing. I'm sure there are going to be imitators after the ball gets rolling or whatever, and I'm happy to welcome anyone who takes this idea and runs with it. But it's a
Are you going to replace bingo? Is that what the goal is?
Well-
here? Eventually people will be going to a Moose Lodge to play Brain Trust with Michael Brown?
Well, I want it to be an event of some sort. It's something where I could share the stage with comedians. That generally I get to pick I get to book who I want on the panel, and they can know something about whatever we're talking about, or they can not know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter, because the audience, when the live audience, when they come to the show, depending on how much they want to pay to get in, under normal circumstances. This weekend is completely different. You buy a ticket, you're in. But
2 shows for the price of 1.
yeah, you get a comedy show and the game show.
All right, let's start from point A. Somebody wants to come out.
Oh,
What's going to happen?
All right, somebody wants to come in. It's under normal circumstances. We would do the show at a game shop or a comic book shop, depending on.
Which is awesome, by the way.
And then, thank you. And then they pay $5 for 1 prize ticket, or they can pay $10 for 3 prize tickets. They all show up and they have their prize tickets. I introduce the show. I introduce the panel. We break for a commercial, and then during the commercial, I draw out of the fishbowl of tickets 3 tickets, and whoever has those matching tickets, the comedians or whoever's on the panel are playing for those people.
Oh, awesome.
So if your corresponding comedian wins,
Sort of like
then
a shout out to Bozo back in the day when they were playing
yeah,
for.
man.
I loved that. I was always like, please pick me, and never did.
Right, and so, but the audience has. I mean, as far as participation goes, the audience just has to show up and sit there and enjoy themselves. They don't have to. No one shouts out answers or anything like that. That's verboten. But their corresponding personality that's on the panel, whoever, if they win, then the person in the audience wins the big prize bag of swag, which is typically, a decent amount of, merchandise or whatever, fun, stuff. Back home, the game shop that I do the show in, they do it, not only provide the venue for us to do the show, but they also provide an in-kind sponsorship for the prize bag. So they throw in like some
Few
really,
20-sided dice, shit like that.
no, dude, I mean, even more. They've thrown in board games, card games, statues, action figures, replica props. I've given away hundreds and hundreds of dollars in geek merchandise on this show.
That's awesome.
Over the last 2 months that we've been doing it. It's real early on.
We went
man.
shopping for prizes today.
That's right. We went shopping for prizes today. We got some prizes for tomorrow night. So,
And these are not thrift store prizes.
no.
He resisted that temptation.
Yes, I was like, you know what? I want to give him something that's cool and not used. But generally speaking, then
RX.
then the subject, yeah, right. Then the subject trivia subject changes every episode. So like our first episode was Hey Kids Comics, so we did comic book trivia, which there is a deep well to draw from there.
Yeah,
We're going to
sure.
be doing more than one of those.
Mine's sort of specialized. I was an Iron Man guy from the beginning, and
Right on.
never really branched out.
Yeah, okay. So
The
you're-
Avengers a little bit, but
That's fine. Well, this covered kind of all of comics, and since comics is such a broad subject anyway, I had to come up with like different types of angles to ask about. For instance, one of the trivia categories was comic book billionaires.
wow, Tony Stark.
That was one. He was one of them. But I not only asked. I described who they were. They had to answer which billionaire they were, and then the source that I pulled this from, which was Forbes, by the way,
That's interesting.
gave the amount of money they actually have. So, like for instance,
I
Tony.
wonder
Stark,
if Forbes has to update that every
they
year or
do.
so,
They absolutely do.
based on evolution of comics.
Yes. Tony Stark has more money than Bruce Wayne, for instance, according to Forbes. Yeah, by like $3 billion, I want to say. And the richest comic book character, bar none. All right. I'll ask this now.
Ooh, I'm sure this is hotly debated in a lot of comic book stores.
This is not
around.
hotly debated. I have a source.
Definitive proof.
I have definitive proof insofar as Forbes magazine, of all the magazines, whatculture.com, I think, also backed me up on this. But the richest comic book character is the rightful king of Wakanda, where the only place on Earth where you can mine vibranium.
Wait.
Who is it?
Is there a clock? Because
Yeah, well,
I'm going to pass to Chris.
do you
I
know?
say I
do you know who
would be
the
animated.
do you know who the king of Wakanda
No.
in
Hold on.
Marvel Comics is?
I see
I'm
an
totally out of my
opportunity
element.
here to improve the game. Maybe the person in the audience, can you cast a
You know
lifeline
what
to
comics I'm
them?
really
No.
familiar with are ones like in Hustler magazine.
It's Black Panther. It's Black Panther. Black Panther is the richest comic book character out there right now. He's worth $500 billion because this one
Black
piece
Panther?
of metal is the only
Is this
place
guy
on Earth.
based on Dick Cheney? Is this,
He could buy and sell Dick Cheney
$500
4
billion.
times over.
That's almost the size of the debt of Illinois. That's a lot of money.
I think Cheney
No,
would be.
I think I would have heard this guy, but he's
Well, there's in a few years you're going to know who I'm talking about because there's going to be a major motion picture about
Who's
the
gonna play him, you
character.
think?
They've already
You know-
cast him, but I can't remember the
you know,
guy's
he
name.
might need the money. Wesley Snipes. might need the money.
He's Blade. He's done. It would have been honestly.
be
It
like
would have been Wesley Snipes.
cousin or something.
It would have been Wesley Snipes 15 years
Yeah.
ago, but I think Wesley Snipes aged out of the role, frankly, and
It's going to have to be a young LeVar Burton type.
Kunta.
Well, that was his big break, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Toby.
I'm thinking,
He's probably got a
No,
couple.
they've already cast it, dude. I
Who is it?
just don't know who it is right now. My phone's upstairs, so I can't look it up.
Wesley Snipes probably got a couple more Expendables movies in him. Aren't they going to probably do
he's got
Expendables?
too many deductibles, according to the IRS.
Deductibles 2, Deductibles 3.
I think the Expendables chain is sort of
Yeah.
a retirement plan for all those guys.
Yeah,
Sort of
yeah.
pension.
It's I call it the Jerry Action instead of Jerry Actress.
Great.
I've watched every single one of them. I mean, those guys were icons back in the
Oh,
day,
sure.
and I was excited to see Chuck Norris involved for a second.
How old is Chuck Norris, man?
It's like 80
Wow.
something.
My dad's 82, and I don't think he'd take Chuck Norris. I don't think Chuck Norris could take him.
I think Chuck Norris. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see when he dies, honestly. But
Yeah, if he
I think
dies,
from a
what
distance,
chance
he
do
looks-
we fucking have?
I think
right?
from a distance,
Yeah.
Chuck Norris still looks fine. But if you get really
Oh, sure,
close up,
sure.
you can tell that dude is strung together by Marpazan and
Marpazan, what is Marpazan?
like the
exotic.
like that kind of candy wax.
Okay.
So nobody got back Black Panther. So
That's okay.
our people lose. The people in the audience. Right now, at this point, our score is 0-0.
Yes.
Nobody's got any points.
Right.
So you just move on to a new question at this point.
Yeah. Well, if I had my phone down here, we could do a quick game of the strain because the strain is always the third round question, which is. Do you watch The Strain? Do you know The Strain? The
No.
TNT show The Strain? Good, because it doesn't have anything to do with that.
Awesome.
The Strain is strains of marijuana that are tangentially named after whatever subject that we're talking about. And then I'll give you a real one and then a fake one, and you have to guess which one is real and which one is
That's
fake.
awesome.
And then that's always the final round of the show until we've come up with something different. But so yeah, in the show when you get those right, I've had twice. There have been 2 people that have been going into the final round in last place, like trailing way behind of the other 2 people, and then they get to the strain, they get them all right, and they wind up winning. So twice.
Wow.
See, just because you're in third place going into the final round does not mean that you're going to lose, because it's happened not once but 2 times where the person trailing points going into the final round, they get all the marijuana strains correct and they wind up winning the game.
Have you ever reached a tie? What happens
Yes.
in the event of a tie?
Tiebreakers. We have
Yeah?
tiebreakers. Yeah, there are bidding rounds in the game, kind of like Price is Right, where we can decide who picks what category first in the round. And I'll give you like the category names, and then and then it's kind of a strategy situation. Like if you want to pick a category that you think you might know more of, then that's fine. If you want to get one category out of the way that you don't know anything about, or you don't think you know anything about, then you can just get it over with. But you have that as a player, you have that kind of control over the game. And if you win the bidding round, and that's where we do our Twitter shout outs. Anybody, particular celebrities or whomever that are following the at Brain Trust Show on Twitter, if they're following the Twitter account, then we give Twitter shout outs to them. And then the bidding round would be guess how many followers they have without going over. And then whoever wins the bidding round, then they get to pick the category. Then we run through the category. We do a second bidding round for the last two categories in the first round. And then we go into the second round. There's the last bidding category to see who picks between the two categories. There are 3 categories in the first round, 2 categories in the second round. The third round is the strike. And so it's, like I said, it's a fun show. When I put it together, I was down, had surgery this past summer, and I was kind of bedridden, and I was bored, and I'd had this idea bouncing around my head for months. And I just sat down and wrote a treatment for it, like I was writing a treatment for a TV show, and I basically mapped out the format of the show, how the show would be played, the nuts and bolts of the show basically, and then once I had the format down, I was like, well, I can do any subject now because I can just plug and play into all these. However the different rounds are set up, and then I've monkeyed with the point totals. Like the first round you get a point per question. Second round there's a question. If you get it right, then there's a follow-up question for you and you alone. And if you miss the follow-up question, then it's up for everybody else. So potentially you can get 2 points per question in the second round if you know the answers, and then the third round. Which is kind of a 50-50 either or situation on the marijuana strains. Those are 5 points each. Mikey Mason
just walked in. So
I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Hey, Bobby.
hey man, welcome.
Good seeing you again.
You too.
Derek Bennett, Mikey Mason.
Nice to meet you.
We're
Mikey Mason.
slide on
we're
in.
a
I
podcast.
walk into a discussion on marijuana.
we were talking about marijuana. We're talking about game shows. We're talking about video games and everything else. So this is we're in the middle of a podcast.
Excellent. What podcast are we on in the middle of?
WTF at MCL. What the fuck at Mason City Limits and
It's 100% Mark Maron free.
well,
Although on the 100th episode we might try to get Mark Maron, and then we'd be 99% Mark Maron free. Just a thought.
we were talking about the
before he
brain.
sues you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were kind of going. We were doing a review of what people can expect. So how long does the game usually last?
Well, that's the thing. We were monkeying with the format on that too, because the number of questions. I don't mind riffing. We can riff. That's all part of it. That's why I love having comedians on the panel. But if we were just doing the game straight,
between those guys.
Is there anything arbitrary? Like, can you remove points? If
We're talking about this game show called Brain Trust.
Well, you play the role of host for the game show.
yeah.
So,
Creator,
who was your favorite
host.
game show host as a kid?Ere you like a Wink Martindale kind of a guy?
Loved
or-
Wink. Wink's originally from Memphis, and I grew up real close to Memphis. Wink Martindale used to be on WMC Channel 5 in Memphis.
That's not a stage name, Wink Martindale? That's his real God-given name?
That's his real name. That's his real name. But I think it's, I don't know what Wink is short for. Twinkle?
Winky?
Winky? I don't know. Yeah, Winky. It's
Wee Willie.
It could be a Wee Willie Winky Martindale. I love Wink. I love Gene Rayburn. I love,
the match game.
Good call.
yeah.
Gene Rayburn.
Who's the cat? Oh man, he used to not the. We'll be acting to it too. Not that guy, but
Oh,
Chuck
yeah.
Woolery.
Chuck Woolery. I'm not talking about Chuck Woolery. Fuck a bunch of Chuck Woolery. Chuck Woolery can eat my balls.
Well, I've never heard.
Bob
I knew you were
Eubanks.
going with the newlywed. game.
Yeah.
Not
Bob
the-
Eubanks was my go-to
Yeah.
on game shows, but I always thought Gene Rayburn had a little bit was a little bit more cheeky than he tried to push the limit as much as he could on daytime TV, and it'd still be.
Well, look who he was surrounded by every single day. He had
Yeah.
these, at the time, those people were like as far out there as you could possibly be.
Yeah.
Charles Nelson Riley.
Yeah.
You know, he was a hugely flamboyant character. And then there were other people on that panel.
I
who-
remember Paul Lynn from the Hollywood Squares. He was always
Yeah.
the screen.
Center Square, baby.
And they were always drinking.
They
They appeared to be.
Yeah. I bet there were some wild stories going on behind
I
them.
love to watch those 1970s shows that show people smoking on stage.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
I watched an old match. Yeah, I watched an old match game, and I saw Richard Dawson, bottom row, middle seat, just sitting there taking a drag out.
Blowing his
I
smoke
think
straight
he's
up.
Smoking. He's smoking like a chimney the whole show. just
Didn't
completely.
Richard Dawson smoke while he was walking around on Family Feud occasionally?
Probably, I don't know.
He was on that show for a good long time.
He was
You remember who was on before him?
Richard Dawson.
Yeah.
Before Richard Dawson on Family Feud.
Or maybe he was after Richard Dawson. Remember Ray Combs did that?
Ray Combs
After?
he totally killed himself.
Yeah, he totally killed
And then Louis Anderson, and then
His career critic.
then
No, it's
Steve Harvey.
Harvey's
Steve
doing it.
Harvey, and he's still doing it.
he's still doing
And
it.
he's got the Steve Harvey show as well.
Yeah. Steve Harvey's set.
Yeah.
He's good.
Now, what do you think of Drew Carey and the Price is Right?
I think it's right. And here's the thing. And this was. You ever done Zanies up in Chicago?
Never been paid to, no.
Okay. if you do Zanies in Chicago,
Bert's not a fan of guitar comics. Let's
fair
say
enough.
that.
All right, so you talked to Bert.
Yeah.
Bert sat us all down and had a 45-minute conversation about how hosting is very, very important.
Oh, yeah,
Long time ago.
He gives you the spiel about how in Canada they revere the host.
Yes.
And they pay the host more.
Exactly.
And how
But
a
I don't.
comic's dream is to ultimately get their own show,
Yes.
like David Letterman, and then they become the host.
Exactly. So I took, yes, I'm glad we both sat through that whole seminar.
So he could say, I don't do guitar comics. I don't care that you pulled the biggest laughs all night and that everybody peed themselves all the way through your set, or that I doubled alcohol sales.
Yeah, no big
You
deal.
play guitar.
Yeah.
Next time, try being funny.
Sad trombone. But
Can you play Freebird? Okay.
But Bert, I mean, as ridiculous as there's some merit to what he said, because ultimately headliners, you go past headlining is to become a host.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the full circle. So that's one of the, I don't know what the original question was, but that's one of the reasons why I created this show, because I'm like, hey, I've headlined. It's time for me to host my own show.
Time for me to host.
So
See, you did it the right way. I had to buy a comedy club.
yeah, no.
Look at it that way.
I just made a show. I didn't make an investment.
Well, that was a
I didn't make a
business model
mortgage.
sucks.
Yeah, I'm not leasing a building, for God's sakes. No, I'm not at all. I'm using buildings, but not leasing them. But it's like I said, it's very early on, and I enjoy being the host of a show like that. I really, really do, because it's there's a lot of past strengths that I'm pulling from on that, because a lot of it had to do when I used to be a DJ. You know, and I don't mean club DJ. I mean like a fucking radio DJ on the radio kind of thing. And I never worked in music. I worked in talk. So I always did talk shows on the radio, which was hosting a talk show on the fucking radio. So it's very much in my wheelhouse to kind of be kind of like the grand poobah of a show.
That is a good job title, Grand Poobah.
Yeah.
Of anything, right?
Yeah.
Where did that term originate? Was that a Fred Flintstone?
Yeah.
Totally.
Probably the Poobah Club.
Fraternal Order of Water Buffaloes.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this the first time you've done it like packaged with a comedy show where you're actually going to do a set? And I'm assuming that's what's going to happen Saturday, right? You're
Yeah, we're going to take a bit of we're going to end the show as we normally do. So stick around, and we'll get into brain trust.
Is that typical where you do
No.
the comedy?
No.
We'll have to get a table up on a couple
Yeah.
chairs
We're
on
gonna
stage.
set up some equipment and everything because of the YouTube shoot. Because we do a 2 to 3 camera shoot. We're doing a 2 camera shoot this time. We normally do a 2 to 3 camera shoot at the game shop that we do the show in, or wherever we're doing the show in, and then we'll take that and then in post production we'll turn it into we'll make it look like a television show with the edits and whatnot.
Like it's being produced.
Are these?
Yeah,
you have
his-
episodes
Like
available.
it's being produced.
Like it's being produced.
Well, he
live.
told me you can have a static camera and then go back later and then zoom in from that static camera.
Right.
Yes.
If it's high enough
Do you
quality.
have?
Yeah.
Do you have episodes available on YouTube now?
Yes.
Can people find those?
Yes, they can. Just go and Google Brain Trust with Michael Brown, or go on youtube.com/C, that's in Charlie, /Brain Trust Show. C is in channel, Brain Trust Show. And we've got 4 episodes up right now. There's one in the can that we did a couple of weeks ago that I have a technical director /editor, and he's down with pneumonia right now. So I'm not really pushing him to get the shit done because I barely.
You mean he's down with pneumonia, like in the hip kind of way?
No.
Oh yeah, he's totally down.
He's totally down with
He's
it?
down with it.
He's physically down.
down.
I don't know how you kids
understands it.
talk these days.
Yeah, he understands.
Totally
it, but
down with
I don't
pneumonia.
think he supports having it. So my editor is kind of under the weather, and as soon as he gets well, then by the end of this weekend, we'll have 3 shows ready to go. So we're doing one tomorrow night. We're doing one this coming Monday, and we already have one from last week. So there are 5 episodes on the YouTube channel right now. Episode 2 is the lost episode. Doesn't really count. So there are 4 episodes on the YouTube channel right now covering comic books, Saturday morning cartoons, time travel, and vampires, werewolves, and zombies. So
So everything I already know, you've already done a show on.
yeah.
So I'm screwed. is what
Well,
you're saying.
no. Well, those are deep wells that we're going to return to again. The upcoming shows, the one we're doing tomorrow night is going to be the theme is the soundtrack edition. We're going to be talking about movie soundtracks.
Oh, I love soundtracks.
Right, and then the one that we're doing Monday is the Swords and Sorcery edition. Oh, look at you breathing.
Fuck this guy.
And then the beginning of December, we've got our Batman show that we're doing at the Al Comics.
I can skip that one.
It's the all Batman show. It's every iteration of Batman movies.
The answer
television.
is his parents are dead.
Yeah.
And his superpower is having a boomerang shaped like a bat.
That's
All right,
right.
done.
And he can throw it really well.
He's accessorized. He's super accessorizer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Favorite TV theme song, and go.
Ever? Favorite TV theme song?
Beretta has got to be right up there for me.
Yeah. Don't pay the crime if you can't pay the fine, right?
Yeah.
And then he ended up paying the time, right? Did he?
Yeah.
Robert Blake.
I never heard the song. That's really odd.
Headed to life.
Never heard the song.
Really
Dude,
should
it's the theme of your damn show,
It
dude.
was all show. Yeah.
Listen to it.
WKRP. That was a good one.
Oh, I love that.
That's
song.
iconic.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would say Barney Miller, that little doom. Yeah, that's a nice little.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
You know, Hill Street Blues kind of became iconic like in the 80s after...
I go way more commercial than that.
Go for
man.
it.
Believe it or not,
No, that's a good one.
never
Yeah.
thought I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
That was the greatest American hero, right?
yeah.
That's
And
right.
I've
And
heard-
it's coming back.
Yeah, there's a rumored return.
You know, okay.
I'm not
Look,
confused either, brother.
Look, I love The Greatest American Hero in a very post-traumatic stress disorder kind of way.
Yeah.
I went back and tried to watch the episodes.
Hard
and
to
I'm
watch,
like,
isn't it?
This was so great when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And now
Exactly.
it's like
Well, you know, they're bringing back the $6 Million Man. He's going to be a $6 billion man.
Yeah.
starring Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
That's right.
Because a $6 million man is actually a utility infielder.
That is, if you don't do that joke this weekend, I'm going to slap you.
I'll write that one down.
Yeah, write that one down. Come on. That's good. That's
It's just
just
the
good.
seventh inning for the Royals.
That's gold right there. I don't know if I could. You really put me on the spot. I really want to say something like meaningful, but
The Addams Family was a good one.
yeah. But see, but we're all pulling from like really. Is there not? I guess TV shows really don't have full-on theme songs
I don't know.
as much today as they used to. But
the theme song music used to be really important. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
heard that, like the Honeymooners theme song.
All in
When that
the
came
Family.
on-
You know, that was iconic, and that was,
Yeah.
you know, that was an actual song, of course.
on
But
the way Glenn Miller plays.
Guys like us, we had it made.
Those were the days. And you know what you... I can't make it. There it is. Thank you, Mikey. Girls in that woman.
There's probably a deep well of sitcom stuff you can pull from.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why it's the pop culture. That's why I include pop culture in it, because it's not always "quote unquote" geek centric. I'm going to make it as geek centric as I can for the soundtracks, insofar as there are different shades of geek. There are lots of different kinds of geeks.
Absolutely.
But mostly, if you're a fan of films. This is a good show because I pull a lot of movie trivia out, quite a lot. The Batman show is going to wind up covering not just the Adam West show, but it's also going to be covering the animated series. Yeah.
Well, the film, that's kind of a good segue into something else I wanted to talk to you about, and that was this Orson Welles thing. Man, have you not become the iconic Orson Welles of this day and age, or what?
I'm evidently the go-to guy for Orson Welles.
That's amazing. That's why.
Orson Welles, I got to say this.
Yeah.
And this has no bearing on anything. But back in the Citizen Kane days, Orson Welles totally could have pulled off a superhero.
Easily.
Oh, sure.
Easily.
He would have been the Batman of his time.
Absolutely.
They'd be like,
100%.
actually, he'd been more like the Ray Palmer. He would have been the Atom.
He would cut you with words, probably, right?
He would
just talk down to you, insult you to the point where you just give up.
You're a genuine Orson Welles authority? Is that the deal?
He plays him.
I'm not an authority.
He plays him in a
I play him. I play him in an upcoming web series called Everything's Okay, where I play the rejuvenated cybernetic head of Orson Welles in a far-flung dystopian future.
That is such a beautiful image.
he's a floating head, basically.
Do you?
I've got a crab body. I've got a.
Oh, you do have a crab body.
Body, yeah.
Do you relive the commercial breakdowns when he's?
Yes, I watched those so much, and in fact, the whole Orson Welles thing started here. It started here in your kitchen, Chris.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. This is the story behind that. I was opening for Pat Kilbane, and Pat and I were sitting. We had just done a show Friday night. We were sitting around eating breakfast that Saturday morning in your kitchen, and Pat and I were making friends. We'd already made friends, and we were just kind of being buds. We were trading impressions back and forth.
Okay.
And over the dinner table, and just cracking each other up. And I'm eating my scrambled eggs, and he kind of looked at me and cocked his head, and he said, "Have you ever tried to do an Orson Welles impression?"
Oh, wow.
And
Pat Kilbane, credit for Orson Welles.
Yeah, I give him full credit for this. And I was like, no. He's like, try to do an Orson Welles. He's like, I bet you would nail it. Just work on it. And I was like, okay. And I sat on that for like a few months, and then in a cannabis-fueled bout of insomnia one night when I was in my apartment by myself, the sun had already risen. It was like 8 or 9 in the morning. I was so tired, but so wired at the same time. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And I sat down on my computer and I watched like hours of Orson Welles footage and everything. And I brought like a mirror to sit on my desk next to the computer, and I was just trying to kind of screw my face up where I would kind of look like him a little bit. And then I started doing the voice. You see, I started doing the Orson Welles voice, and then which was more a pattern of a rhythm of how he spoke, and everything. And then I set up my camera. I set up my camera, and there was like a special. Everybody knows it now because it's kind of famous. But back then, or even when I was in radio, I knew about it in radio because we used to hear celebrity, the production directors at different radio stations. If they had somebody in to do liners and stuff, if they fucked up, they would save all their outtakes, and so all the production directors around the country in various radio stations would share these tapes with each other. And there was a famous Orson Welles outtake of him doing a voiceover for pea commercial, the frozen peas commercial.
What it would be,
Yeah. We know our milk farm in Lincolnshire where Mrs. Buckley lives. every July, Petersburg. Do you really mean that? Well, yes, Orson, if you could just come in a half second. Do you really want to say in July over the snow? Isn't that the fun of it? Yes, you know, and it just went on and on and on. He just gave this guy a really fucking hard time. And so I did a version of Orson Welles in a studio doing that because there was no video, it was only audio. So I just did like the Orson part, and I wrote down like bits and pieces and kind of truncated the transcript a little bit and kind of slicked my hair back. Didn't really do any makeup or anything, just kind of slicked my hair back, and I did kind of a test Orson Welles impression video, put it on YouTube. I've had a YouTube channel since 2007. All right. I've had stand-up clips for years on there. I put up that one Orson video. It's the most watched on a whim. I put that Orson video up. It's the most watched video on my entire channel. I wound up getting 3 auditions from just that impression video. One of which I did an Orson Welles voiceover for a Canadian film, which I still don't know what the fuck happened to that. I guess they made it. I wound up auditioning for the police chief role in Eagleheart, which was on Adult Swim because they were looking for an Orson Welles for that, and it came down between me and Michael Gladys, and then Michael Gladys evidently got it because he was on Mad Men at the time and he had way more juice than I did. Yeah, and then I got cast as the cybernetic head of Orson Welles in this web series, and that was actually a paying gig. Like they flew me to New York. Wow. We shot the whole thing in like 2 weeks, and it's been in post production ever since. So I can't wait to see it. I actually play 3 roles in that though. I play Orson Welles, but I also play the rejuvenated cybernetic head of Marlon Brando and the rejuvenated cybernetic head of Elvis.
What's the difference between doing a Brando and doing Elvis?
The voice.
Got to be huge. I mean,
well, it's all in the facial expression, and you know, and I had the beard, so and the beard was huge. It was like I'd grown this beard out for Orson. We shot all my Orson scenes, and then the next scenes that I had to shoot were Elvis. So I shaved the beard and left like left the mutton chops. And we did my hair up, and so I did Elvis, you know, I did a snarl.
Oh yeah.
Like that, you know.
Brando's face was kind of not. I mean, it very seldom moved. I think he was
well.
Like,
Brando.
You ever seen Kevin Spacey talk? Like his top lip never moves, just his jaw kind of.
Me doing Brando was me doing Vito Corleone as Brando, and so there was just then the chops went away, hair still slicked back. But I had a little kind of a pencil mustache drawn in, and then you just talk with an underbite. And I put grapes. I had the craft services had grapes that morning, thank God. So I put seedless white grapes in my cheeks to do the Vito Corleone Brando. And knocked out those scenes.
Because he did cotton balls in the movie, right?
Yeah, he did. He did like those dentist gauze. In the movie. But yeah, I used grapes.
So Pat Kilbane said, you would nail Brando, and it turns out that you'd nail
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles.
Turns out you nailed Orson Welles and Elvis.
Yeah,
and Brando. So
Yeah.
you need a T-shirt that said "I nailed."
Well, there are T-shirts with me. There's T-shirts. They started. That's the other thing. And there are legit actors in this freaking web series, right? I got plucked from obscurity.
Are you an illegit? Are you
yes, I'm 100% illegitimate actor. I'm SAG eligible now. I'll say that. Yeah, I am. But there, I mean, the dude who played Principal Blackman in Strangers with Candy is in this web series. The voice of Delta Airlines, this chick is in the series. A couple of ex-Disney voiceover people did voiceovers for the series.
Have you made it when you become the voice of Delta Airlines?
I get, yeah. She's she's doing really well.
Does she get the voice of Delta Airlines Dick out there traveling around?
I don't know.
Is there some kind of?
If she hadn't told me, I would have known it was her.
I bet if you were the male voice of Delta, you would get pussy associated with that.
Probably.
Is there Orson Welles pussy?
No.
None.
I will tell you that right now.
But you're married, you're done with that anyways.
Well, yeah, but you know.
Yeah, that sounded definite. I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but at the moment there's been no Orson Welles pussy.
That's right. So it's safe. We're all safe.
Remember that subject you had about the bucket list pussy we'd have on the old TV show?
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I think I at the time, with the show was out, Lonnie Anderson, and it was Lonnie Anderson or Jan Brewer, yeah.
First conscious erection, Lonnie Anderson.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was a list of
Probably Farrah Fawcett for me early
right.
on.
Oh, the iconic '70s people that was on your bucket list back then. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know if he was the one person you had a crush on.
Who is so hot that you would still fuck them if you have to dig them up from a grave?
Oh wow,
and do it?
Get on to Carly.
Before we get into that, I just want to throw this
Helen
out
Mirren.
there.
Helen Mirren, yeah, she's not in the grave yet though. So.
I wanted to say,
If I had to.
Yeah, no. Oh, you kidding me?
Yeah.
hashtag free Nick Huffman. Nick Huffman is a comic in Illinois who has recently become sort of famous for pranks that he does, YouTube pranks. You were talking about YouTube, and that kind of reminded me to mention this. Nick went into a Walmart recently in Kankakee, Illinois, and found a deserted sporting goods section, as most of them are, and was motivated to start answering the phone as Earl, the racist asshole employee. Took 3 calls, one from an employee who was calling in sick, and his immediate question to her was, do you have an STD? So he posted these 3 videos, and Walmart in Kankakee had Nick Huffman arrested for disorderly conduct. They actually signed a criminal complaint. So I wanted to shout out hashtag free Nick Huffman, because God, what kind of, seriously, you don't have enough stuff to worry about that you've got to be offended by a comic going in your store and recording some YouTube videos.
Speaking of being offended, Dr. Gonzo's in the house. We're all offended.
And he turns around and walks out.
That's fun.
That's your question about who is hot enough that you would dig him up from the grave if you had to. Is it in bad taste to say Princess Diana?
No.
I'm just checking.
Absolutely not. I think that's actually a very legit candidate.
Oh, totally.
Kind of like the girl next door if she lives in a castle.
And was dead.
But would an ingredient have to be? Would they
be?
have to have died when they were still hot? And you know, I mean,
Like I said, but I have one bucket list. I have one, you have the list that the people you're allowed to. I have one person on that list, and it's Helen Mirren. I have a serious Helen Mirren fetish.
I can understand that.
Now, remind me who Helen Mirren was.
She was.
No, I can't work here this weekend. I gotta go.
Yeah. I'm the headliner. I'm the god.
Most recently, she did a lot of the Red movies with
She was
Bruce
in Red.
Willis.
She was Victoria in Red.
A very sexy character too, by the way. For
The hot gilf inRed with the
Gilf.
guns.
oh,
The
God.
Grandmother
grandmother.
I'd like to fuck.
You need to
girl.
watch
Yeah.
Calendar Girl. She's topless.
Calendar Girls. She's
Yeah.
a gilf in Calendar Girls.
She's
Good
a
girl.
wonderful Morgan
Great
Le Fay and
grandmother. You want a
Excalibur.
beverage?
She is a great. She was in Caligula.
She was.
But somebody bought me, because I have a Helen Mirren fetish, and somebody bought me her autobiography. Her autobiography has a centerfold of her nude
Really?
in milk. Her nude in a milk bath. I mean, how
So,
many autobiographies
let's
have you
get
jerked off
specific.
to? That's all I'm wondering.
How's she put together at this age? I mean, what's she looking like?
Dude, she's smoking hot.
Yeah, she's kicking it now.
Smoking
She's
hot.
She's
So that's possible. You
did.
can maintain. I mean, it's possible to maintain.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, she actually
I would watch
announced
him.
that she's...
I would watch him.
Speaking of old and sexy, Gonzo, why don't you come around here so we can get you on the mic? There, slide in.
I'd buy the movie.
Gonzo's going to be doing a night here coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th.
You'd buy the movie, but would you fund the movie? That's what
I would buy the movie
you
and
produce
watch
the
it in
movie?
private. Yeah, well, I'd produce
Would
it.
you executive
I would
produce
be the light guy. I'd set the lighting on it.
So Friday the
Helen
13th,
Mirren, that's pretty awesome, man.
There's another, I'm writing this one down so we can revisit it. Favorite horror movie for Michael Brown. I want to know about that.
Favorite horror movie?
Yeah, we'll come back to it though.
that
Gonzo's
Jane
going to be
Fonda?
here on Friday the 13th. and probably going to be packed. There's probably going to be
Well,
a lot of
it's
people.
his niece's birthday, so it's going to take a little long.
You have just blown it if they're listening.
Oh shit! Luckily, no one's listening to this show.
Not yet. Oh. Edit out Christmas.
Well, I didn't say which niece, did I?
No.
There you go.
Well, I've got one living. Thank you.
That narrows it down.
At least who's going to be attending.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be there.
Yes,
But-
and as long as Ari Marshall and Tim Laffey's on that show as well.
And we're going to have, on the very next night, something really cool. We're gonna
Derek
have
Bennett will be opening for Drew Hastings,
Drew Hastings is going to be a lot of fun.
who did get reelected mayor, by the way, of Hillsborough, Ohio.
Congratulations, Drew.
Good for him.
I'm glad that farm purchase worked out for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You suddenly realized, I'm getting screwed here. I think I'll run for office and change things.
Keep the property taxes low.
Is he totally serious at work? Do you think he's like, when he's got his mayor hat on, is he like totally...
Tell you what, man, I mean, he
talk
had
to
me
him
down,
about it when
and I
he's
took
there.
the tour. Remember, I took the tour, and I went to the Opera House and stuff. He owns like half that town, as far as he bought all the real estate real cheap, and now he's got some things running out, and he really has made an effort. He put his money where his mouth is, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to run for school board now. I want to run for Board of Education where I live, and I want to make it required that every senior in their last semester watch every recorded performance ever by Bill Hicks and George Carlin so they know what the fuck's up before they get out of there. I think that would do a lot of people a lot of good. Yeah.
Mandatory.
This is what happens when you go from being stand-up comic to statesman.
Well, I've already run for city council, and I'm running for that again.
Yeah.
Very simple platform. I want to make pot and prostitution legal within the city limits. Because
Makes sense.
I think
You know,
they're...
even if you're 50% success, that's good.
That's what my friend says.
Either way.
Because you bring a whorehouse to town,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and then you say, well,
Yeah.
look, I'll get rid of
Either
the
way,
whorehouse,
you'll
I
forget
have
about the
a
other thing.
Yeah.
place, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
I actually had people vote for me. It was fabulous, and I'm sure they will again.
Now, I think the challenging part would get the horse to move to Waverly, Illinois.
Well, now
I
I'm
mean,
in
you know,
Jacksonville, so it's a little bit bigger.
Jacksonville.
There's
A
more
little bit
housing.
closer, a little bit more centrally located. You get the horse from Quincy to come down.
I know there's a really good women's shelter there. I've done
Oh.
fundraising.
Now we've crossed over.
Yeah.
Come on, can I go back to ogling Helen Mirren?
Yeah,
Yeah, any day now.
Yeah, oogly,
That's fine.
oogly doogly.
To answer your question, I guess my favorite horror movie is.
Oh, there's a question. I forgot we had a question.
The Exorcist.
I'll say Exorcist.
That was the scariest movie ever, man. Because when I saw it, we're probably the same age. Mm-hmm. Boy, that movie stayed with me. I had to think about baseball to get to sleep. I was so scared about getting possessed in the middle of the night.
Well, mostly.
Really?
Boy, not again, you know.
Mostly, and I'll tell you why. And I love The Omen, and I love like Prince of Darkness and those type of movies. Anything that has kind of a religious bent, where the religion is the horror, I love those because everybody knows zombies don't really exist. Everybody knows that werewolves don't really exist. Everybody knows that vampires don't really exist. So monster movies, whatever, they're fun. But religion actually exists, and there are people that actually believe that this shit is real. So that is horrific to me.
So the Flying Nun, for instance, would
That's
be...
exactly right. That's exactly right.
That reality
Reality
is...
on my list, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
You really
Of
like-
all time hard five?
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
Like
See,
to fuck
would
me?
you call it
You
a
really
bucket
like to
list?
fuck me?
Is that what you call it?
Oh, that's a good
Now
term.
it is.
That's a good term.
Because I called it a hard five. It was my hard five list. Those were the
hard five.
Hard
I
five.
call it the lotion five.
There you go.
Soft.
Now, Gonzo, did you have one of those celebrity crushes growing up? But you're a little bit different generation than we are.
Yeah, let's see, who did I read? Judy Jetson.
Tiffany? You like Tiffany?
I had a big
cartoon.
deal with Betty Rubble.
Betty Rubble, too.
Rubble.
Betty
I
Rubble
would
was a
tear
hottie.
her
Vivian
up.
Vance, man. Look,
Vivian
Lucy
Vance.
was hot.
Wait. What?
Oh, no,
What?
Vivian Vance. You knew she
Vivian
was
Vance was somebody you wanted to bend her over the couch and let Fred watch? I mean, what the hell kind of a
Fred had
scenario?
You know what?
My shoulder.
You know what?
Fred
After
was-
you're done with sex, she would do the vacuuming.
Vivian
I'm saying you look at
Vance.
Fred and you know you got a shot.
Yeah.
Because no matter who you are, you're a step up from Fred Mertz.
Vivian Vance would be the fat chick that I would do in order to be able to do Lucy at the same time. You know, sometimes you gotta.
Very
Yeah,
good.
so-
Lucy's too high maintenance.
Gilligan's Island, definitely.
Don Wells.
I'm talking
Don
once.
Wells. Don Wells is way way up there. When I was a kid.
Colin Firth.
Oh, I Dream of Jeannie. Bewitched. Any TV show that really.
Yeah, Bewitched. She was a hot one.
The blonde on the
Elizabeth
Munsters.
I'm taking a hard right turn
The
away from
normal one?
TV.
The
But,
normal one on the yeah.
the chick who was the front for the Bengals. Oh my God.
Susanna Hoffs.
I met the Bengals. She was a little too bizarre. She was a little too weird.
Yeah, let's talk about the Bengals.
Let's talk about the Bengals.
I got the shirt on, man.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
Let's talk about the
Bengals. I never saw a bass player go 7-0 last night.
Yeah.
It's a dream.
Yeah, bass players don't do that.
They walked like Egyptians.
That's right.
I don't know. In the movies, I was Raquel Welch when I was young.
Oh, what was that movie? Remember you turned me on to that Jane Fonda movie where she looked so damn hot? Cat Ballou.
Yeah.
Boy, she looked
Barbarella.
good. I mean, I'd forgive her for riding on a tank too. If that's
Well,
that
you
movie.
know, later on when she kind of pulled things together for On Golden Pond, she was kind of hot in that movie for an older actress.
Well, when you're surrounded by really old, creepy people, you look a lot hotter, you know.
Barbarella.
She got
One of
ripped
these
up for
guys.
that.
She was
though.
hot in Barbarella,
She was-
dude. That's just all. I
Barbarella.
Barbarella is like that was enough for me. She was great. In
The
Barbarella.
hottest chick I ever saw in a movie was one of those chicks from Planet of the Apes. There was like a really hot one that never spoke, and to me
No, that's
that was
attractive. That's very attractive. Yeah.
Nova, the girl who played Nova
Yeah.
in Planet of the Apes.
No, you would know that.
Of course I. That's why I have the
no
freaking
speaking
game show.
part.
Somebody's got to come up with a question.
I know. Come up with the right question.
We all have questions.
We got answers. We just gotta have the right question.
I'm the answer man.
And apparently you're an extreme couponer too. We were talking about that
If I
before.
can get it, if I can get a coupon situation worked out where I save the most money on things, hell yeah,
He
hell
and
yeah.
Chris fighting it out.
I don't know, man. He said he had he got gas for 87 cents a gallon at his Kroger because he had all these Kroger points.
Yeah, I saved up I only shopped on the weekends where the points were quadrupled, and then after I got 1,000 points, you get $1 off
Per
for
gallon?
gas per gallon. So it was.
Thank God you don't. It'd be great if you had a big rig.
I know it was, but it was $1.87.
Well, you
and
can
I
get
knocked it
35
back
gallons, so you can call everyone down in the family and just line them up and go.
Yeah.
It'd be like, okay, 35 gallons, save $35.
Yeah, I filled up my
No
tank
math
for less
major.
than $20, and that hasn't happened.
That's what
forever.
gives these guys boners. Let me tell you that right there. I saved it. They go.
Were you ever one of those people that had an extra room for all the shit that you bought with your coupons?
No.
I see those people.
No,
on
I've
TV.
never. I
Taken
would.
up by his porn collection.
Can I just say?
True
Which,
story.
Can I just say thank
was-
goodness that
he bought on
I got
sale,
all
though. He
digital
totally bought on
and on
sale.
a hard drive. Thank goodness it's all digital
How many
now.
terabytes is that?
Yeah, it was enough. But I watch extreme couponing and I look at and there's just no way you can do it now. They rigged the game at the grocery stores where you can't stack coupons like you used to. So you can't do the shit that they.
It
used
says
to
not
do.
redeemable with under the coupon.
Right. So you can try to game the system as much as you possibly.
You know
can.
what I find, because sometimes you go to Kroger and things are marked down and the coupon won't work on things that are marked down. But if
Right.
you go to the self-checkout and then give them the coupon,
Right.
we're much more likely to score those coupons.
That's funny you should mention that because the most percent I got off for a week's worth of groceries was like 38%.
That's great, yeah,
off.
yeah.
And
That's
I wound
awesome.
up buying, dude. I mean, you buy $100 worth of groceries for less than $70. That's pretty fucking
Sure,
good, dude.
yeah.
And, you know,
And plus, you're not getting credit for the markdowns on that either.
No.
You know, only the coupons on the Kroger discount, but
That's
not
exactly
the
right.
manager's special.
That's exactly
So
right.
you really did better than
You
that.
Look, it's just taking a little bit of effort and shopping smarter. That's all it is. That's just taking a little bit of. Not
But
just-
I enjoy shopping. I enjoy grocery shopping because
like
I
getting
feel
a
like I
deal.
have a strategy involved,
I like getting a deal. I got that
Yeah.
from. I mean,
and then work your menu around your deals.
I'm as close to being Jewish as you can on this because I'm mostly Scottish. And Scottish are cheap, and
That's great.
That's great. So
I saved in some Irish Spring.
yeah, so what was the Irish or the Scottish wallet, the Velcro wallet with it because it screams when you open it. Anyway, yeah. Oh, very nice. That is very nice. You need to find one of these. Chris just bought a new wallet today, but he absolutely needs one of those. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
Dude, I bought it. I almost put it back because I thought I got the $7 wallet and I got the $12.99 wallet. So
I
I
almost put it back.
I'm not gonna. You're like, oh,
If you had the
splurge.
$7
I
wallet, you
deserve
have
it.
$3 and some
To
$4
buy that, I
in
have
it.
more to put in the wallet.
$4
Yeah.
to put in the wallet.
Yeah.
now I got the more expensive wallet, but I can't afford it.
Well, you got a more expensive wallet. Looks really nice, probably really comfortable on your ass and everything, but nothing to put in it. Yeah.
I just got married. I don't need one at all.
Well, that was the other reason why I'm kind of pinching pennies is because we're,
Yeah, think about it.
comedians, man, we live on budgets and we live and die by our budgets and our income and shit like that. And it's always
Somebody would have told me that 10 years
no shit, right? I found this out the hard way.
It's like, I'm gonna get money and pussy. I got none.
Yeah,
Nothing. I
neither
got
one
zero.
of those. Neither one of those.
And cocaine!
Yeah. No, it's not gonna happen either.
So, yeah,
Apparently, club owners don't pay you in cocaine anymore. Apparently.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
it's not a thing. It used to be a thing.
Used to be a thing.
I've heard stories. Rick Overton
Yeah,
said something about it at one point.
we're back there in the thing. Way back.
Yeah.
So you've only been doing comedy for what, 10, 12, 15?
I've only been doing stand-up for 10 years.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
He and I are contemporaries, actually. We started around the same time, and actually, I've only been doing it for 10 years too. Actually, this January will be year 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on year 11 now.
I've taken more time off from comedy than you guys.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I know you have.
I'm on year 10.
Yeah.
And December 5th will be my anniversary.
Oh.
December 11th.
January
something like that.
January 12th will be
Something like that.
my year 11.
April
anniversary.
30th this year, if I'd have stayed with it, it would have been in comedy full time for 30 years. 80,
Yeah.
80, 35 years.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I know,
I'm
right?
glad I took that break.
I-
But the 80s were a lot of fun. I can tell you some cocaine and pussy. I remember when pussy had hair on it.
All the pussy I get still does.
That's why you're crazy about Helen Mirren. Hers is probably falling out by now.
Well,
I can't get my
you know
wife-
what? So much the better.
Yeah, that's all
That's all
whatever.
I'm saying.
That's all I'm
So
saying.
it's all right. You know,
Where are the microphones, man? What happened to the
It's in the
It's in the
computer.
thing.
You're soaking in it.
You're soaking.
Yeah.
We all sound
Madge.
like I'm pretty.
Now we're old, because I remember her name.
Yeah.
Madge.
Yeah, if I was that old, Madge was Madge probably had a kinky side, don't you think?
Probably liked letting you soak in it. She liked it.
Madge. And that's
Yeah.
another name that's kind of obsolete. Madge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about old
Short for
school.
Marjorie.
Old school
names.
name,
Yeah.
Maud.
Short for midget.
That was a good old name, though. Remember that series, Maud?
Beatrice. Is
There's
there a
awesome.
Beatrice out there now? Is that a
What?
Beatrice? Is that coming back?
Beatrice, probably.
My mom's a Betty.
Yeah.
My mom's in Maryland.
My mom was an Eleanor.
My mom was a
Eleanor,
Janice.
that's a good one.
Eleanor was my granny.
Eleanor Joe.
My grandmother was Esther
Esther, what do I have Esther?
and Patty. Patty was my Irish grandmother.
Patty, I can see that.
Of course she is.
You're shitting me now.
No, Patty Greer.
But it could be Patty, it could be your uncle.
She was full-blooded Irish as well.
I want to see these old names have a rebirth in porn. Like that becomes the trend.
Yeah. Like
Inside Esther.
Eunice Funbag.
I'm so happy you said Eunice at the same time. I'm so happy that happened. I knew this was going to be a fun weekend.
Oh boy.
She's my favorite.
Olga's Orgy or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That'd be a good one.
Eunice Funbags and quadruple.
Chris has a perfect porn name. Have you ever figured out your porn name? Chris's is awesome.
You know, it's the first pet in the street you lived on. Mine would be Max Marblehead.
Well, if we don't go by streets, just what you want your poor name to be. Mine would be Zip Thud.
Pet name, first street you grew up on, Chubby Oak.
What is
Chubby
it?
Oak is a good
Chubby
one.
Oak.
Chubby Oak is not bad.
That'd be the sidekick.
Yeah.
It was like your
Max
parents.
Marblehead, and this is Chubby Oak.
It was like
Foreplay, go.
your parents thought about that. They were like,
Yeah.
"What is this kid's future porn name going to be?
Yeah.
How are we going to name this pet?" Boom, Chubby Oak.
I'm Oliver Kelwin.
Not really.
Not really good.
That's probably a niche
But it's a
market.
hell of a pseudonym, though, isn't it?
Oliver
Marshall
Kelly. That's
Turnaround.
one of them talking points.
Yeah. So
I'm here to
What
fix
is
the
it? It's your-
furnace.
Okay, how's it go? It's your dogs?
It's your first pet's name and the street you lived on.
Scooter Elm.
Scooter Elm.
That's something
Scooter Elm would be a good one.
Scooter Elm and Chubby Oak. Painted town.
Down.
If it wasn't for
Splitters everywhere.
Painted white.
Oliver, it would be Socks Kelwin. I would be Socks Kelwin over there.
She can't tell the forest from the trees.
Yeah,
You spend a lot of time in your bedroom with your tubes on.
yeah, Socks. Socks. I think I just dropped the last name and just go by Socks.
Pull up socks. Pull up your socks. And grab
Starchy socks. Wait, no.
Drop your socks
They're a dead
and grab
giveaway.
Drop your socks and grab this guy. Nah.
Okay, I'll save the weird news stories. I think we got plenty in topic-wise.
Oh, we can keep going.
I like the chimpanzees
we
with
want to do
Scottish
this. Actually, that's not a bad place to segue to. We're going to do the news stories a little bit differently this time.
Okay.
We got sort of a panel now we can take advantage of, and we're going to do it Michael Brown style, not Mike Brown style. That Mike Brown.
He's a good guy, man. He's got a web series too called Can't Stop Won't Stop, and you should look that up. I support other Michael Browns.
So Michael Brown used to do this podcast that was sort of specific, but he used to do this segment called "Give It to Me Cold." And we're gonna do that same sort of thing. Chris has weird news stories, so just give him the headline or maybe the first paragraph, and then we'll let them respond.
Chimpanzees develop a Scottish accent after moving to Edinburgh Zoo. That's true. Chimpanzees that have lived in a Dutch safari park adopted a Scottish accent after they moved to a new home in Edinburgh alongside 9 local chimps.
Well, how did they know? Were these
what did they
chimps
say?
were they given a TED talk in Edinburgh? Is that
The
how
Dutch apes would make a high-pitched grunt when they saw apples. The local Edinburgh chimps, by contrast, made a distinctive lower-pitched grunt. It's evidence the scientists from universities of York, Zurich, and St. Andrews said that the apes have accents that vary from place to place, just like us.
Huh.
They know because all of a sudden the chimps sounded a lot like Mike Myers.
Yeah.
They're all on the Simpsons.
So I married an axe murderer.
Yeah, those Boston chimps are the worst. They want a banana.
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 I'm not a fucking monkey. I'm a primate.
A primate.
It took several years of the expat apes, that's what they call the expats,
Expat apes.
yeah, to pick up the local dialect because the two groups did not mix much when they first were introduced in 2010.
Well, here's my question.
Well, they talk funny.
Well, the Scottish apes didn't understand the Dutch apes.
So,
Once they found out they were sitting under red lights, they were all
So
cool.
if chimpanzees get transported to a zoo in Alabama, do they buy a single wide trailer? I mean,
this is fun because I used to work for a zoo.
Oh, that's
good segue.
Yeah.
I used to.
Yeah, I used to.
the Little Rock Zoo.
Little Rock Zoo. They
got fired for trying to teach the chimpanzees accents.
That's right.
Good try, though. Good try.
Yeah.
He's
Very attentive.
He's sitting there with the chimps going, no. If you want to do Orson Welles, you have to.
You've got to do it.
You've got to quit eating the grapes if you're going to do Brando.
Yeah,
Quit eating the
Brando,
grapes.
yeah. Give me the underbite. Give me the underbite, you fucking monkey.
Give me the underbite. You got to do the underbite for Brando and for Orson.
Echo you by throwing shit at you.
Yeah. It's a tough crowd, but when you win them over, boy, you got them right in the monkey paw, right there, right in the monkey paw, all 3 fingers, right in the middle.
You know they love you because they come up on stage, start to groom you.
Yeah.
I've got the cleanest beard.
That's right.
Okay, you're going to tell your story about working with the zoo. Well, sorry.
No,
apologize.
I was just saying, I should be able to answer this because I worked at a zoo, but I never worked with the actual animals unless you count people.
Well,
as
People are
animals.
animals.
Yeah,
Sure.
I worked with people. I didn't work with the animals. When it came to the time when I was just about to start working with critters, I wasn't really enthused about it. And
That's what they call them at the zoo?
I called them critters because it was everything from a stick insect to a bald eagle, and there was like a list of animals that I was to be trained on to do children's shows. But I wasn't going to be making any more money doing that. And I was going to be doing that on top of the other 2 jobs I already had at the zoo, so I wasn't really thrilled
Animals
with
with
that.
talons.
Yeah, and I wasn't really thrilled with being the zoo's fucking party clown, so I bailed. But
All right, now you said critters, and it just set me off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Did you hear this stuff about Bendy Irwin?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Steve Irwin's daughter.
Yeah.
She's on Dancing with the Stars right now.
Okay.
And she's on like week 12. And by her contract, she's already earned like a
His
quarter
daughter
million.
or
His daughter?
his-
Yeah,
okay.
Steve Irwin's daughter. Now her mom
Is she
a
hot?
judge-
Is she smoking?
She's getting the
Yes.
hot dog.
Yeah.
Is she?
Okay. So she's 17 though, 16
Oh.
or 17.
Yeah, we can-
So she's
Well, 17. That's legal
she's-
here in Illinois. Mason
Whatever.
City, you're cool at 17. After
just
the show tonight,
Yeah. Okay.
She's already worth 250 grand. I don't think we got a shot. she's not the pussy you're looking for. But anyway, so a judge does, because her mom signed papers waiving all rights to anything she earns on Dancing with the Stars, right? So a judge actually declared that she has to prove that her dad is dead.
Wow.
Are you shitting me?
I shit you not.
Is
She has to provide like America. There's a video somewhere. I bet the judge just wants the video of Steve Irwin getting stabbed through the heart
By the
a fucking
stingray.
Stingray, because I mean, seriously, he ruled that she's got to prove that he's dead.
I wept when that guy died, dude. Seriously, I really did, because that cat was like
Because you
one
did
of-
a great Australian.
I really had a
Good luck.
great. I really had
Minutes
a
of my
great.
And you had to
set.
cut this bit.
I
lost 5 minutes. This is bullshit.
That's right. Oh, Pat Kilbane had a great Steve Irwin bit. He had to get rid of that, and I was really sad about it.
That's really funny. He says, talking to the girl, he's
It's like when
like,
Michael Jackson
I
died.
talked to her further, but she's sitting right next to an aggressive male.
and he sounds Scottish. Sorry.
Oh, he does a great one. It's like, oh, here's a funnel web spider.
The funny thing is, he would contrast that with the Cajun people from the swamp.
Yes.
And he'd go from like the conservationist guy to he cooking a gumbo with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys shooting gators.
One guy's trying to save the gators, the other's trying to eat them.
you know, that's probably a good spot for you. You were going to talk about Louisiana, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Louisiana. We were closed last week for Halloween because Halloween universally is not really an ideal comedy weekend. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
10 years or 15 years of
Too many other things to look at.
Right.
Yeah.
So my dad is from Louisiana, so we traveled down. So my dad's 82, and my brother's been handling my dad lately. So it was a little bit of a different realm for me. And you went through this, Gonzo, and your dad, needs a little bit more help than usual. And one of the things we had to do, of course, have a diaper bag. Yeah. And I had to constantly remind my dad, hey, we got time to poop. Maybe we should poop right now, you know? Yeah. So, but the whole trip, only one accident, and that was at the restaurant after the meal, and it could have been a lot worse. Those Depends worked fabulously, by the way. Okay. Nothing dripped out of them at all, and that was, But I found this out about my dad, because I was with him twice when he pooped. He pooped standing up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
I never heard of that
So
either.
all this stuff about we're supposed to squat, total bullshit.
Well,
Apparently it works just fine.
I think his back is hurting him. That's what I got out of it. Because I was like, because he was pooping, and I was like, oh no, Dad, you want to get the seat down? And he's like, no, I don't need the seat. He just backs up and poops standing up. But yeah, I'm just glad he pooped in the bathroom. And I was worried about on the plane, something happening on the plane. And
Hey, if you poop standing up, the plane is nothing. You're fine.
Well,
as long as you're over the bomb site, you're good.
there we go. He's an old bombardier.
He's an old bombardier. My dad was an old bombardier.
No wonder he does it like that.
So no, but that was a challenge. Like my brother's gone through this a lot because he lived near him, and I'm about 5 hours away. So, but it was good to get him down there because I don't know when he'll be down there again. He grew up down there, and everybody was really happy to see him, and so it was a successful trip, and only one incident that could have turned out a lot worse. But I appreciate my brother a lot more because I went through it too. So
There you go. Yeah. Well, I'm staring down the barrel at that.
Sure,
probably
man.
down the road because
circle of life, man.
I'm sure.
They go from them changing your diaper to you changing their diaper.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
Well,
happened.
hopefully, Mom will still be cognizant when Dad goes downhill in that respect. So I won't necessarily have to deal with what you're having to deal with, but I'm sure it's going to be in the mail down the road as well. All our folks are getting on up there.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
My mom's dead, and my dad left us when we were little, so...
Sorry,
Dad.
My parents are both gone.
Oh, you're in the clear.
Not too worried about it. The thing I worried about was, Dad, is that shit under your fingernails? Because he grew up during the Depression, so he thought he could wipe his ass with one square of toilet paper.
Yeah.
I'm like, really, Dad? There's
Well, if you
a
fold
whole
it
bunch on
16
the roll.
times,
Yeah.
You got a postage stamp, and it's gonna.
And then you put it up there and you lose it.
You know what? I can't say this enough. If they're flushable, get the wet wipes are freaking amazing,
sure.
dude.
They are.
Sincerely.
You just like that cold feeling.
It's refreshing.
Cold, wet.
It's refreshing.
How'd you get your tongue down there?
Let me tell you another thing.
Here's Sparky.
We moved into a house. The shower that I use in the house, the shower head, it's got one of those little clicky things where you change the
direction of the thread.
Yeah. So you set it on masturbate, right? You set that thing on masturbate, and now you've got a handheld bidet. That's all I'm saying.
That's like power wash. What are you talking about?
Right. It is wonderful. Do not knock it. If you guys, anybody listening right now, if you've got a nozzle in your shower that can give you like a good...
Wait, check the PSI first.
No, don't.
We don't want anybody getting a colonoscopy.
I want you to full blast,
Full jet.
just full jet, exactly. Full jet not into, but just on and around your ass. You will thank me in the morning. I promise you. It's so good, so good.
I didn't see the show taking that turn.
This show is funny and informative, yes.
And that brings us to the most common procedure for the most common cosmetic procedure for porn stars, which is anal bleaching.
Yeah.
Now, this segue to my second news.
That segue right into this.
The strangest college sex scandal ever is currently unfolding at Notre Dame.
Of all places.
A female coach allegedly coerced male students into having sex with her own daughter. How about that?
And it gets what? It gets weirder.
And it gets weirder from there.
How does it get weirder from there?
They said that she wasn't allowed to give them money. She was like, she coerced them.
How old was the daughter?
The daughter was probably of age. She works in the university as well.
Oh,
The lurid
okay.
details are unlike any other college sex scandal in recent memory. The main player is a middle-aged white woman who tutored students and, according to one, allegedly coaxed them into sexual encounters with her daughter, a student at a nearby school who also works at Notre Dame.
All black guys.
She provided condoms, transportation, and hotel rooms for the hookups. When he tried to back out the strange relationship, she threatened him. The lawsuit claims the coach routinely targeted black male students, including basketball and football players. It calls the woman racially motivated and says the students slept with her daughter. She would pepper him with racially charged comments about their sexual prowess and genitalia. She was a horny white woman, obviously. The coach has been fired. Oh, no kidding. That's so tragic.
Really? So she watched?
For violating the school's harassment policy.
Well, let me ask you this: was she one at a time again, or this was like 2 or 3 at a time on her
Was
daughter?
this daughter really homely?
I guess. I don't know.
Maybe her daughter just really. Maybe both
Well,
of them
maybe
just really like.
maybe she got all this allowance and
multiple
didn't really do anything.
multiple
So she
black
thought,
cats.
That was her allowance.
Yeah, that was her
A
allowance.
bucket load. All right.
Notre Dame denies wrongdoing. Oh no, Notre Dame is denying everything. The allegations against the University of Notre Dame and the complaint are unfounded. A spokesman said.
a fake story.
So they didn't know about it. They said, and include the athletes in a cynical attempt to attract publicity. But wait, there's more.
Okay.
The suit goes on to allege the academic coach roped another university employee into the scheme. A member of the school's psychiatric support staff tried to medicate the student to keep him passive, cooperative, and under control so that he wouldn't expose the coach. And then, as it couldn't get any weirder, she tried to convert the kid to Catholicism as well, against his will.
And now we get to
Yeah,
the crime.
fuck my daughter, and yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're back to your favorite horror movie.
And you're
Yeah, we're back.
Fuck my daughter, and you'll be forgiven.
Right.
That's a good pitch, right?
Okay. You know
So
what?
what's going
That's
on
the
in
best
Notre Dame?
pitch I've ever heard.
Yeah,
frankly.
they wanted Mike. The neighborhood wanted my son to go to Sunday school, and they just gave him a gold pencil.
Well, there was another scandal in Louisville about the recruits being provided strippers and basically prostitutes.
That's not a scandal. That was Southern Methodist University for like 15 years.
Louisville, very
I understand, but that was like, what?
And
Wouldn't
it's-
that be
it's-
standard practice, don't you think? That
most
good recruits, if a guy wants to go to a strip club, he's going to a strip club. I mean, isn't
Well,
that still kind of the way it is
Depends on what
now?
your scholarship is for. If it's for academics, I doubt those people got the strippers.
Well, you know, SMU kind of brought that
The
to a
chemistry
head,
kids,
that whole
yeah.
thing.
We're
but-
trying to get the chemistry students in there.
Kids.
I went to college
They
on
took
a
'em, but
music
there was just no
scholarship,
chemistry.
and I never got any of that. Well, I take it back.
I played music.
Yeah, you remember?
I remember.
I'm a recovering musician. That's my thing. I'm getting my 20-year chip real soon. But I never got any kind of added extra bonuses for having a music scholarship going into college. Unless you count the fact that when I started college at 17 years old, the first person I hooked up with was a 24-year-old flautist. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met a gymnast.
Ooh.
Hello.
Yeah.
Dancer, modern dancer.
Yeah. I dated a French horn player, but she kissed really well, but she held me funny.
I saw that one coming about a mile away.
Oh, the breath control.
Her embouchure was fantastic.
It was great until she tried to put the mute in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's trumpet.
I get it.
Put the mute in.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, they're going to let the college athletes unionize, or they're going to pay them, or both. It's just going to happen. As much money as...
There's a lot of money to be had there, and I mean, you can say all you want about the college education, but a lot of those kids really don't. I mean, especially if you come out early. I guess you can always go back and get your college education, and they pay for it in theory. I guess. Right?
Well, if you drop out of college and go pro, say basketball player, will end his college tenure maybe a year or two early, and if he's a particularly exceptional player, and if he gets recruited or drafted by the NBA, yeah, dude, make your money in the NBA and stash that shit away, and then if you want to go back to college, you can fucking pay for your own college.
Right.
You don't need it.
I had this argument when somebody said, "Oh, Shaq shouldn't come out early." I'm like, he's going to be the #1 pick. He could buy the fucking college.
I watched Shaq when he was still playing for LSU.
He was a sophomore when he came out, right? Or
Yeah,
a freshman?
dude. I mean,
he was a beast.
He was a beast on the court when he was in college. That's the only time I've ever seen him live play basketball was when he came to. They played Arkansas State one year, and I watched him, and I was amazed at the guy. I was just like, this dude is a beast. I mean, I was rooting for them before. I didn't care about my own college team. I didn't give a
Dunk
shit.
again, Jack.
Yeah, man, he totally flipped me. I was like, I want to see him do everything on the
Except
court.
Shazam again.
Yeah.
Kazam. Or
Kazam.
Steel.
Yeah.
Can't do Steel again.
Can't do Steel again. Yeah, no.
We're going to see him do everything but act.
He was in that movie with Nick Nolte.
Blue
Blue
Chips.
Chips, yeah. God damn it, Shaq. That's Gonzo's impression.
I nailed Nick Nolte. Wait, no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, apparently Carey, not Drew Carey, the other Carey, the impressionist, Wayne's World.
Dana Carvey,
that's what I mean. Dana Carvey. I knew it was DC. I
One
was sitting there going
letter,
DC.
one letter different.
Carvey and Carey, you know the deal.
I was going to guess Ted Knight. I had no idea.
Dead.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice. All right, we've exhausted my impression.
That's your Ted Knight.
That's it.
That's it. That's good.
Really?
Yeah. Not many people knew that he was the guy.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He was the narrator in Super Friends. This is why I wanted you on the show. Honestly, this is why I was like high-fiving angels when I got Mikey Mason to be on Brain Trust. What was I fucking talking about before?
Drew Carey.
Dana Carvey. Dana Carvey is coming out with a new show on. You may not know this. Dana Carvey's coming out with a new show on USA Network, and it's impressionists competing. It's competing impressionists.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't know how the format of the show is going to be or anything like that.
They'll
But
have Pollock on with him, I'm sure.
I have no idea. But he's the host,
They've
and
got to have
apparently
a bunch
he's
of guys behind a screen doing an impression that the judges can't see.
maybe.
Right?
Don't you have to make
Part of the
it?
impression is the physical thing, though. Like if you're doing Kirk, you're going to have to
Well,
do
now see, there's a difference between this is where we get into the meat and potatoes of doing this. There's a difference between doing an impression of someone and an impersonation of someone.
Yeah.
An impression is just the voice. An impersonation is taking on the physicality of the person and
It's
whatnot.
like a mime and a pantomime.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
I
right.
guarantee you, they put 100 Christopher Walken impressionists up there, and then put Christopher Walken up there. He will not win.
Yeah.
You're like, it's close, but man, come on.
Well,
That sounds
remember
like
that
a really
story?
generic Christopher
well,
Walken
that's-
impression.
Who was the comic who gave Freddie Prinze the gun? It was a little short guy.
Fred Travelling.
No,
We're still talking about.
he toured with Lane Boozler for a while, but evidently they made a movie about it. And he went to audition for the part of himself, and he wasn't right for the role.
We're looking for someone younger.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So that's coming out on USA Network. I'm very interested in that. I just found out about that today.
Yeah, you should be
I
making
got
it
that.
your mission in life to get on that show.
That's what I was like. Who books that? That's
Yeah.
what I want to know is who books it because I'm not saying I have a huge catalog of impressions.
but I mean, if they give you a list of, I'm sure maybe they just surprise you and go, okay, do this. You know?
Well,
Like pickers, they're going to give you a list, and then they're going to go through your shit.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's Dana Carvey. The same that Dana Carvey is supposed to be mentoring all these new young impressions.
Well, I would start with my Dana Carvey impression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
No, I do a bitch in church lady. You need to hear this.
Exactly. So look for that. I'm as someone who kind of does impressions. I'm more than marginally interested in that because I don't really do much on stage anymore. But clearly I'm getting more work doing impressions than I'm doing.
Well, I mean,
anything else.
especially if it's your calling card to get hired to, it's something they could actually see and sure.
Yeah.
And they can.
With the Orson Welles thing, though, I felt really bad about doing the Orson Welles that I was doing until I got the endorsement from Maurice LaMarche, who
The Brain.
who was the voice of the Brain,
Oh, no
on Pinky
kidding.
and the Brain, and also was the voice of Orson Welles over D'Onofrio and
Yeah.
Ed Wood,
Yep.
and he has been the go-to guy for Orson Welles as far as the voice is concerned forever, and I felt free and clear to do my Orson Welles after I got his blessing because I pretty much admitted to him, I'm doing an impression of you, doing an impression of Orson Welles, but I'm not quite doing the exact voice that you do. But I based my thing off you, and he was like, that's fine, go ahead. He's like, you look the part, so you're fine. He's like, if I looked like you look, then I'd be doing it too. But
I got a call in about that.
What?
I got a call in about that show, see if I can get you on there.
Oh, great, thanks, man.
Are you currently doing your Orson Welles, Brando, or are those coming out in your stage act?
No.
Comedy you do?
No.
Incorporating those?
Not at all. I do like
Flip a
more
message to
nowadays.
Dana?
I do.
No, I sent it to Mark Pitt.
I think I've
They're
done Bane
best buddies.
from Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
I'll do a Bane impression because I can kind of naturally work it into a bit. Yeah, I was born in darkness.
Oh, wow, that's a good one.
You got me trying.
But I really kind of phased out the impressions out of the stand-up act because I didn't want to be the impression guy. I wanted to be the jokey guy, and because I was like, jokes are better.
I'm glad you
But-
dropped the juggling too.
Thank you.
And the
I'm not a-
puppets.
I'm not a
so
fan.
glad you don't do the puppets.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
freaking
not,
me out.
Hey, thank you.
You know why I dropped the puppets? He was a horrible juggler.
That's
And I'm glad I could set that one.
Yeah, set them up and knock them down. But I didn't want to. Well, first of all, I found it incredibly difficult to write bits around the voices that I do, and I auditioned for America's Got Talent as an impressionist, and I tried to do the impressions that most people don't do. As an impressionist, you have to do an impression that makes you unique from other impressionists. So that's one of the reasons why I think I've gotten more success doing
Are
Orson
there
Welles
other
than
people
any other
doing
one.
Orson Welles a lot? I mean, I don't.
Well, Maurice LaMarche does Orson Welles, and
so
a couple of
one.
other people have acted as Orson Welles. Jack Black did Orson Welles in Drunk History last season.
Yeah, and that was a great thing you did to just give
Yeah.
him that tenacious D minus.
Who are the big impressionists now? Like back in the day, you had standby guys like
We had Mike
in the
McRae here,
70s.
Mike McRae, that's just who I was going to say. Mike McRae is fucking
Who were
amazing.
the television personalities back in the 70s who were big?
Gershon, Frank Gorshin.
Frank Gorshin,
Little was
Rich
Little.
Little, Fred Travelina,
Clarence Sterling III.
Yeah,
Carlin started off as an impressionist way back when.
yeah.
Now, who's the guy, or who are the guys that are like the standards now?
Well, that's one of the reasons why. Well, Frank Caliendo is
Right.
still out there, and he won't let people who do impressions open for him. So I've never worked with him.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. It's
I
like
thought you said you dropped the impressions.
I did, so I could work with Frank
Oh, yeah,
Caliendo,
that's the
one.
and it didn't work.
but a lot of female comics don't have another female on the show.
There are few and far between female impressionists, I found.
Oh yeah,
If there's a
Google her.
female impressionist that can do a
I know a
really
girl
good
who was
one.
doing Hillary Clinton.
Do you really?
Yeah, Jan. What's her name? I forget her name.
Oops.
No, not Jan
super
Bird.
bad.
It's nobody famous. It's just a comic who she could do the hair and she could do the southern kind of whatever
Okay.
fake smile.
So she was a good impersonator. She did an impersonator.
Right. She was an impersonator. Sure.
Yeah. It's like when I used to do Farley.
Yeah.
I would.
Thank God you dropped that.
Thank you very much. I
You're
milked
going nowhere with that.
Well, you know what? It lasted as long as it needed to, and that's
a good way to put it.
As far as it got, and it put me. I made money off of it. That's all I give a shit about. But yeah, because I used to do Chris Farley. I used to do the Matt Foley character and whatnot, and it was
Van Down by the River.
yeah, Van Down by the River guy. And
Then Chris Farley's brother apparently took up that gauntlet to do Matt Foley on stage.
yeah,
Still? That's happening? Is there Gallagher 3 out there somewhere? Is that-
Well, all right. So last I heard about it, and this is just me being nitpicky, but last I heard about it, and this was maybe a couple of years ago, he was getting paid pretty well to go do clubs.
We're talking about
Kevin Farley.
Yeah.
To and this is what the posters say: "Quote, learn the craft of stand-up comedy." End quote.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretentious.
That hurts.
Isn't it?
You mean the audiences or the
He was getting special event pay
to learn the
to learn the craft.
and for, yeah.
So to do impressions of his brother. Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and I've been doing that since.
We all have ever since we saw this.
Yeah, but I've been doing it on stage since '05. And I dropped
Have you
that.
got special event pay for it yet?
You know what? I did
Should've
once.
changed your
I
name.
did once. I got hella paid to do Chris Farley, but but it wasn't a stand-up act. It was the most I've ever made, and still, this is still the case. It was the most. Yeah. Well, you saw the PBS thing when I was on the public.
Springfield.
Yeah, the Springfield thing. That wasn't even it. I got a corporate gig in Peoria for the bank, whatever bank that Caterpillar uses in Peoria. They were having a big yearly meeting or something, and they saw me on the public television doing Farley, and they hired me in. It was the most I ever made for the least amount of time. To impersonate the Matt Foley character for 20 solid minutes at their function.
Do they have breakaway tables and stuff? 'Cause that would
No.
be awesome.
And you dropped that bit.
And you said thank God. You dropped that bit.
He was being a
No. The artist side of him said thank God. The
Yeah.
business side says, "What are you, a fucking idiot?"
Well, here's the thing. This is how I justified it to myself. I was like, there are people out there at fucking Six Flags that are doing Blues Brothers. All right, so this is just
Yeah, I
me
know.
doing an SNL
Madison
character.
Branson doing
Yeah.
Andy Williams.
I can
This-
get
It is
pissed.
Andy Williams.
I can get pissed that Kevin Farley made special event pay
Yeah.
to learn the craft of stand-up comedy all I want. But the fact is that if I could get paid that money to be learning the craft of anything, out of basket weaving, I would take money.
Right.
Can you do a Belushi? Have you
No,
done a
I
Belushi?
can't do Belushi.
No, because speedballs aren't cheap.
And they don't pay in coke anymore.
They don't pay anymore than they used to. For all 3 years there, if I remember correctly.
Now this show's going pro.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, no, but yeah, I had to see the thing about that was, and the beef I had about it was, even Farley didn't do the character more than 4 minutes on television.
Right.
You know, the sketch itself, he was only in that sketch for like 3.5,
So did
4
you just
minutes.
improvise and go around and fuck with people?
That's what I had to do. I literally had to improvise
Give people
in
wedgies
character, and I walked around with a wireless mic, and I went to table to table to table, asked them what section of the bank they worked in, and then made fun of them for working in that section.
Yeah.
You know,
How
and
many
yelled.
times did you say the phrase "van down by the river"?
I kept it limited. I only did it like 4 times in 20 minutes.
I would have been saying it every other line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the gold they'd wanted.
But
We're going to move you to a branch down by the river.
See, there's still money to be made, buddy.
I don't think
Telling
so.
you.
I don't
That's
think
the
so.
money.
I'm making my Orson money now. I'm
Yeah.
done making Farley money.
Orson Welles as
Orson
Matt
didn't have to
Foley
scream
go.
so much.
Orson Welles is Matt Foley. Well, as you can possibly tell, I've been divorced 3 times. I'm 34 years old and live in a van down by the river.
Orson Welles over there, man. Now we're getting something.
Now we're workshopping this shit.
By the way,
This is
you're
better
welcome.
Okay, here's Jack Nicholson as a morning kid show host.
Yeah.
You know, instead of going,
Yeah.
oh, just
Think
pick
of a
the
girl.
impressionist doing the impression.
Something
Well,
like
see, that was one of the obstacles I felt like I couldn't overcome doing impressions was I didn't want to just drop. And I studied Pollock. Are you kidding me? I deconstructed his whole act.
What the? I mean, he.
And just to see how he would write around the voice. Because you can do the voice fine, you do the voice, it's like a magic trick, you know. You do a voice in front of an audience.
Carry on acid.
Right. But it's like dangling keys in front of a baby, doing a voice in front of an
I
audience.
wrote that, by the way.
What?
He wrote that.
The keys to the baby, yeah.
That's why I got my dad on the plane.
I'll let you drive.
That's funny. I saw Carlos Mencia do the keyboard.
That's
But I used to have I had a Dr. Phil bit. I loved the Dr. Phil bit. I still do. I would still do the Dr. Phil bit if I can remember it on stage or whatever. If I can remember to do it, it's fun. But that's a good example of building a bit around a voice, and I found it very difficult to write jokes that way because I felt it was forced. I didn't want it to feel like it was forced. I wanted it to feel like it was natural, and I would rather work an impression into a bit that added to the bit instead of being the bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
just improvising on stage. You got the voice. You might as well just give me a topic. You know.
Yeah.
Do a thing.
You
Then
should
you're
do an
hanging
Oprah.
yourself out there.
Well, the thing about Oprah is she's my boss, so I don't talk about Oprah.
I thought you said okra. Now cut that out.
I thought you said okra, and I like it. I like
my okra.
I like fried okra.
No matter, either way, I'd eat it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about Dr. Phil was I was really able to kind of hook it in because Dr. Phil and I share a birthday. He's exactly 20 years older than I am. Exactly.
Exactly.
He's 20 times richer than you.
He's 20 years older than me. We were born he was born 2 counties over from me. He was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was born in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So there's 2 counties between the two. And the fact that I could establish some sort of connection personally with Dr. Phil or try to figure it out was kind of the end to do the thing. But it's hard to do. It's really fucking hard. That's why I have a lot of respect for impressionist comedians, is because it's really fucking hard. Just the fact that you can do the voice is not enough. You've got to make it funny.
You got to know all the sayings around the area too. You know, that you grew up with. You know.
Now, didn't you also get a famous encounter with the swim trunks of Bill Clinton?
Yes.
Tell that story.
That's a weird story.
He was in Bill Clinton's pants, literally.
I'm one of. That's right.
One of many.
Your computer just died.
No, it's still going.
Oh, okay, it's gone. So when I was 12 years old, my dad was working on his doctorate degree, and he had to go to Ole Miss. So he was taking summer courses at Ole Miss. So we all had to move to Oxford, Mississippi for the summer, which meant I was going to be away from all my friends during the summer. So my best friend at the time, his parents invited me back to my hometown to spend a week with them, so I would have at least a little bit of a time it at summer with my friends instead of away from everybody. And they had a pool, and I was really excited about that. And they were also big personal friends of Bill and Hillary. And Bill and Hillary were there the week before I was. And Bill left his swim trunks there, and I forgot mine. So I had to wear Bill Clinton's swim trunks as a 12-year-old all week.
Had somebody's DNA on you, haven't you?
Well, it's weird. First of all, the swim trunks, and again, this was back in like '82. So the swim trunks.
Oh, so they didn't have a seal on them or something?
No. He was governor of Arkansas then. He was governor of Arkansas still.
Depends on how recently he had been to the zoo.
Right?
It would have been a seal on
Scottish monkeys.
They were like brown and the turquoise flowers on them, and not Jennifer flowers, regular flowers.
What you did there?
And they were huge on me because he was still kind of still kind of in his I'm getting chubby phase. It was just kind of ramping up into his McDonald's form at that point. And plus I was a kid. I was a little kid, and I was really skinny back then, and I was having to cinch up these trunks and everything. Long story short, I was a kid. I was in the pool. Didn't feel like getting out of the pool. Totally peed in Bill Clinton's. Now, I think I'm only one of 2 people, maybe 3, that can say that they've peed in Bill Clinton's swim trunks. The difficult thing to explain.
You think he's one of them?
I think he's one of them. I'm willing to bet that I'm not the only other one. So I'm willing to say that I'm one of at least 3 people.
Probably Ted Kennedy.
Who knows?
Ted Kennedy probably skinny dipped.
Yeah, come on. I mean, he's
Well, not a chap acquitted.
Well, I was about to say. Yeah. He was about to say. I didn't know what he was driving, but yeah, I think that's what he wore. But the explaining why I peed in Bill Clinton's swim trunks was not as easy as trying to explain how I got chlamydia at 12 years old.
Are these related stories?
If I got chlamydia from, the joke is I got chlamydia from the swim trunks.
So I just totally screwed that up.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's all right.
We had an awkward moment.
Nice.
That's actually
Wait,
Nothing's funnier to a comic than when another comic eats it.
Right. Until he stepped on it, but that's okay.
what's funnier than that? It was when a hypnotist isn't working and he can't get anyone under. That's pretty goddamn.
That
funny.
is pretty funny.
That's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, I got to work with Sandman next week, so yeah.
have you ever done a Michael Moore? I see you doing a Michael Moore.
I got after I shot the web series and I was clean shaven, but I still had longer hair. I was walking through JFK Airport in New York, and to fly back home, and I heard no less than 4 people think that I was actually Michael Moore.
Is that Michael Moore?
Yeah.
Michael Moore. Is that Michael Moore?
Yeah. I heard that at both JFK and at Dulles in Washington D.C.
They weren't saying Michael. They were saying that goddamn communist.
Yo, they weren't happy. Nobody was happy that they thought I was Michael Moore. They were like, "That's Michael Moore," and they just kept walking.
That son of a bitch.
It's like no eye contact. I'm like, I'm not Michael Moore.
Turn around screaming, "I'm not Michael Moore!" Unless you just happen to want to give Michael Moore a hand job, in which case, I am Michael. My name's Michael.
But I thought about buying a Detroit Tigers hat specifically just for
airports.
Just for airports. When I was doing the Improv in Cleveland, and we were after the show was over, there was a casino downtown, so we went downtown to the casino, and I kept getting, and I was clean shaven then, and I had a very close cropped haircut, and people thought I was Drew Carey's little brother, or they thought Drew Carey got fat again, and I got.
Price is Right got canceled.
Yeah, I got. Yeah.
He's all depressed now.
That's right.
That's how everyone gets started, really. That's how
Drew Carey dropped the cocaine and picked the donuts back up again. I'm not entirely sure.
I think the paparazzi should hire you and say, "Okay, this week we want you to be so and so."
Yeah, right.
And then we'll just take pictures and then.
Yeah, that's how we'll get on TMZ. But yeah, no, I've gotten stopped in airports thinking people thinking that I was Philip Seymour Hoffman. I've gotten people at airports thinking that I was Michael Moore. I got people thinking at airports that I was Drew Carey.
It's always airports, though.
It's always airports, man. It's always it's when I don't normally fly to gigs. Honestly, I've only flown to gigs like three or four times. Usually I drive. Even when I went to...
and then you have to go to the toll booth. And hey!
Yeah. Well, it's another... I drove from Arkansas to Providence to do shows in Rhode Island. And my wife went with me. But she flew back, and I had to drive back all the way by myself, which kind of sucked. But, yeah, I've seen a lot of America through my windshield. I'm sure Mikey has, too.
Oh, sure.
But in the rare instances where I could, like I flew to Phoenix to do shows, I flew to Vegas to do shows in Utah. I'd fly to Vegas and rent a car and then drive into Utah.
Okay.
Because flights to Vegas are cheap.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I flew to Vegas to drive into Utah. I actually saved money by doing that.
It's one of the rare instances you can.
Yeah.
Because they got a thing.
Yeah. They do have a thing, don't they?
They got a big thing. Vegas has a big thing.
Big old veiny thing.
Did it ever recover, though? I mean, Vegas was kind of in the crapper for a while.
I think they're fine.
I mean,
they're doing okay.
It's not like it's Atlantic City or nothing like that.
No, it isn't like a desolation of hopelessness as Atlantic City is. I think Atlantic City is like the municipal equivalent of a Tom Waits song. But,
horrible. Who books that? Yeah.
but the
Tom Waits as Matt Foley. No.
Oh, I live in a van down by the river.
That's actually a Tom Waits song.
Is it?
No.
It sounds like it should be. It sounds like it should be. And I don't have a wife and I don't have a dog.
I'm way too entertained by that. That's brilliant.
I can see you doing a killer Kevin Smith too.
I've been Silent Bob for Halloween like more than once. That's happened. Yeah. I've met Kevin Smith, and I know we're the same height. And until he lost the 80 pounds he lost, we were the same weight. So, yeah, I could beat Kevin Smith double. I'm happy to do that if Kevin Smith is listening to this podcast.
You'll be the before picture?
Yeah, I would totally be the before picture of Kevin Smith now because he got unchubbied a little bit. But, put a 5X size hockey jersey on me and I could probably pull that off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I can't wait until it gets to the point where other people think they look like me instead of me looking like other people. That's
Is that the evolution?
Yeah. Frank Caliendo gets that all the... Wait, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So anyway.
He does Frank Caliendo impressions. Maybe you should work on them.
I really should. Well, the guy that used to open for Frank said I did a better Dr. Phil than he did. So, and I thought his Dr. Phil was pretty on fleek, as the kids say. But my Dr. Phil was apparently a little better than him.
A little fleekier.
A little fleekier. I don't know either. Me either.
Gonzo head out?
Yeah, I need to get up there and we need to get the sheets on this bed. The sheets are in the dryer, so.
Yeah, that's a good way to end the show.
Yeah, we gotta
get them the sheets. Anonymous called.
There's a rally tonight.
How close are we to Oklahoma?
Lahoma,
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's where the mayor's
Yeah.
husband and never mind. Sorry, timely.
But 8:30 show tonight with Mikey Mason headlining, Michael Brown, who usually headlines is featuring, and then I'll be emceeing. And then Saturday night after the show, we're right into the Brain Trust trivia game.
Which I still have to finish writing.
There we go.
Yeah.
I got some suggestions.
Yeah, you don't get it. You don't get input. You're a contestant.
Then we got some cool stuff coming up after that. On the 13th, we've got Dr. Gonzo. Who's with Gonzo? Anybody with Gonzo that night?
Marshall and Johnny Pants, or not Johnny Pants, Tim Laffey.
Tim Laffey and Ari Marshall.
And then after that, it's you and Drew Hastings on the 14th. And then Todd Yon is with Matt Stein on the 21st and 22nd. And we just booked Rob Haney. He will be here Thanksgiving weekend with Dave Yates.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
At Michael Brown on Twitter, at Brain Trust Show on Twitter, and look up Brain Trust Show on YouTube.
MikeyMason.com.
And BeerPoweredTimeMachine.com.
What is
Nice.
it?
Beer Powered Time Machine is my podcast.
Oh, we should have talked about that. Oh, well, sorry.
Next time.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. See you guys again. Bye.
Yeah, let's get you settled, man.